Meet us in the end zone. The Fixed Ops Roundtable Tailgate Touchdown event is here to play. Strap on your helmets and get into position. We're throwing it over to our QB and host, Katrina Ness.
Good morning, I'm Katrina Ness from Northwood University. Grab your game day tickets and make your way to the best seats in the stadium as we settle in for day 3 of our 4-day event. Get charged up for another electric game here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable Tailgate Touchdown event. Get the play-by-play with the Fixed Ops Roundtable by using the chat feature on the right side of your screen. Just be sure to select everyone and not just hosts and panelists. Our first speaker is our referee from Northwood Automotive, Bill Demaree.
Welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with a great friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Bill Demaree, the Group Director of Fixed Operations at the Northwood Automotive Group. Bill, welcome to the Roundtable today.
Hey, Sarah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, Bill, a lot of people know you from the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity to be interviewing you today. And, just first right out of the gate, a lot of people listening, they always wonder, what does it take to be a fixed operations director? How do I get to that chair? And so I'd love to hear your story. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you ended up in fixed operations and with the Northwood Automotive Group?
Yeah, it's a great question. A lot of times you'll get a question that says, well, what did you think you want to do when you grow up? And my family blood is in the car business. My dad was a mechanic his whole life, and then he taught mechanics at a Lincoln College years ago. And so I kind of knew this is what I wanted to do, I think. But one thing I found really early is I wanted to be those guys up there talking to customers. I jumped out of the shop at as quick as I could, because I grew up working on cars, and it really wasn't a passion of mine, but I found my way coming through the fixed ops as a service advisor, learning the parts side. I went to sales for a really short bit, just not for me. And I always say I know my place. I'm just a fixed guy, and I love everything about it. And I started at a very young age at a service station, pumping gas, full service gas station, and selling oil changes when the bell goes off. And that's kind of how I found my way. And I was very fortunate to come onto the Tomwood Group just over 14 years ago. We just celebrated our 14th anniversary with this group. I spent 24 with the group before this, and that's kind of the two companies. I don't bounce around. I'm very passionate about what I do and who I work for, and I'm very choosy. And the Wood Group was very appealing to me when the Palmer Group went out of business in 2010, when the car business was a little shaky. The Palmers lost the franchises through the Chrysler bankruptcy, and I was it was all my life, and it was a partner for the group as the vice president of fixed operations. Again, I know my spot. I'm in the back, not in the front. So I came over to the Wood Group 14 years ago, and very fortunate to have the role that I have now.
Well, Bill, we are so grateful to have you with us today. And you talked about fixed operations being the area that you chose for your career trajectory. And, a lot of conversation in the industry right now has been around how important fixed operations are to a dealership's livelihood and to their employees. So, what is it about fixed operations that really, solidified that career path for you?
I think what I love about it is you kind of go from a hero to a zero overnight. So you can have a fantastic, October, and now it's November 1st, and now you're starting over, and so it's never boring. There's always opportunity, whether it's a customer service situation, whether it's a revenue, efficiency, productivity in the shops. There's always something to focus on. So you never get bored. And for my role, what I enjoy probably the most is if I have a store that's really struggling, whether it's on a metric situation or customer situation, I don't have to fill out an application to go, work in a Honda store. I can just move into the Honda store and work in a Honda store. So I love coming in and focusing on, kind of the low-hanging issues maybe that's going on in a store, and I'll roll up my sleeve and work side by side for 6 to 8 weeks next to a young manager and help them get better and help them solidify the processes that we just need to put in, and to watch them, change when they see an actual process in place. And wow, the stress just went away, from that. And it's so rewarding to me, from being in this business 39 years, to be able to go in and show the things that are possible all through just the standard operation, procedures that we built.
Well, Bill, when we were in the green room, we were talking a little bit about, vendor partners in the automotive industry. And what is interesting with your role in fixed operations, you have the opportunity to look at so many different programs and so many different processes and so many different applications for your dealerships. And one of the things that we're hearing consistently across the industry is, dealers are thinking about how the vendor partners play a role in their organization. And, do they integrate with others? Do they play well with, the same softwares? How do I get that reporting information? So talk to us a little bit. What is important to you in a partner as you're thinking about, expanding processes and technology for your customers and employees?
Yeah. So every vendor is the best one out there, right? So some of what I like to look at, and I look at a lot, I'm big into the AI space, as anybody that knows me knows that I've been in that space now for about 7 years. And anything that's the new kind of edge cutting technology, I usually know about it before it's maybe out there. But we also have to look at, we can't do everything. And if you're coming to me as a vendor, hey, I have this, it's really great. My first question is going to be, I have partners, I don't have vendors. So you're asking me to fire a partner that's doing a really good job for me to bring you into that space. And I have no idea whether your product's going to work. So I think the understanding is helpful if you understand our situations that we get hit up daily. I mean, I get more emails and phone calls if they find my phone number and trying to track me down and say, hey, you got to look at our product. Hey, you got to look at our product. And my suggestion is don't tell us you guarantee 10 times, ROI, because it's usually 10 times sales. I could care less about the sales. It's about the profitability and what can it do for efficiency and can it increase our speed, in that way. So bring it real, show me how you're better and how your product's going to perform better than the partners that we already have. We're very loyal to our partners. And it's really hard for us to make changes unless you've asked for a divorce. And then we'll move our own way. And by asking for that divorce, you're just not performing for us. And then we'll move on. But we're pretty loyal.
Well, Bill, and one of the things that I've always been impressed with the Tom Wood Automotive Group, specifically, is how you really embrace the technology, you embrace processes, but at the core of it is that customer-centric focus. And you really do an incredible job of making your employees and your customers feel unified in that entire relationship. I would love to get your perspective because we're hearing, as fixed operations continues to be front and center on the focus for 2025, what are some of the initiatives that you're working on in the Tom Wood Automotive Group?
So we operate on a platform called EOS. And if you've not heard of EOS, you should look into it. So EOS has really helped us as an organization streamline, have scorecards. We're solving issues daily. And it also surfaces and allows our employees to be more engaged and involved. When we started this, it was just a leadership team. And, I was like, I don't know, it's another meeting. I don't have time every week. What are you talking? An hour and a half. I don't have time for this. I could not function in my role without it. So as I walk through our businesses and I see things or I hear things that don't seem right, I can text an issue to their issues list and know it's going to get resolved every week. So it's really given our employees a voice, and it's given a structure to our teams that we're now all speaking the same language across all 30 operating businesses. We all speak the same. So when I look at somebody and say, I think you're off track, they know exactly what I mean. Or I say, we need to IDS this, they know exactly what I mean. And those things have really, I think, brought our processes together. And the other thing that EOS did is it helped us understand our core values. And it was kind of not comical, but I think maybe more common when we started asking 3 years ago, can anybody in this room recite all 4 core values and tell us what they mean? And it was kind of like, well, I think there's this. And it was really like, wow, we don't have, a solid foundation on it. So we went offsite for almost 3 days to rewrite our core values as a company. And what was unique is we took our employees and we listed them on the wall and said, what about that person do you think is a core value for Tom Wood? And once we listed all these, we kind of dissected it down. So we rewrote all of our core values around the teammates, around our group. And then we pushed these down, and now we hire and fire, reward, all based on core values. So we're doing quarterlies, annuals, one-on-ones, clarity breaks, and all these awesome things that I think has set us apart of our competition, because I'm not sure everybody's doing the things that we are to make our employees feel really special and important.
We're here today with Bill Demaree, the Group Director of Fixed Operations for the Tom Wood Automotive Group. Bill, I've learned so much already in our conversation today, and I know we're just getting started here. The other piece that I loved about what you just said with bringing your employees together and thinking about that individual and what core values they really demonstrate for the Tom Wood Automotive Group. Talk to us a little bit about, how do you take a new employee and really onboard them into the organization? Because that's an area that there's a lot of conversation around in the industry too, is, how do I first off find incredible talent and, bring them into the fold? But then what do I do once I have that talent? So I'd love to hear your perspectives on that.
That's a great question. And that's something we felt we were falling short on. What we did is developed an onboarding team. So every week, if you're a fixed ops employee, you can only start on a Monday. You can't start on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. And the reason for that, it was a little frustrating for our stores at first, but we felt like the onboarding experience is so important. So we put a team together that on your very first day, if you're a technician, advisor, porter, it doesn't matter, in fixed operations, you come to the home office and you set through an employee orientation. And we give you all your login credentials. We have a trainer on site that teaches you how to get into the systems and kind of the basic foundation of what the systems are. And then we follow up with all those employees in the field within 1 to 2 weeks to make sure that they're comfortable and things are going the way they should. So you're going to spend your first 5 to 6 hours not even in the place that you're going to go to work for. You're going to be in our training center. And by doing that, we were able to launch what we call the Tom Wood University. The Tom Wood University is full of SOPs and what's my job look like, little training things that we've put in there. And we're in the process, we're beta testing another platform right now. It's called Today's Class. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. So Today's Class is a really awesome little app, and it gives you a 2-minute kind of teaser class every day. And it helps our technicians, advisors just get better, hone their skills with customers, and technicians hone their skills on brakes and technology that's in the vehicles. And we're working with this company on white label in this, and then bringing our orientation into that, our systems into that. That way, they're always kind of going to get challenged about, how do I use, how do I send a microsite media out? What's the best practice on this? And we can test them on this and kind of see how their knowledge is getting better. Because when they take the test, there's 3 options. How confident are you on your decision? So if I'm really overconfident and I'm missing everything, the AI that's built is going to keep pushing more tests to them, in that area, just so to help them get better. So we're excited about that new partner that actually Jeff Wood found. And we're just over 40 days in testing. I really like what I see so far. We have about a 92% utilization across the group. That's the stores that we're testing. So I think by just getting better engaged with our employees and let them know that we do care about them, training is so important. And we don't want to just talk about it. We want to actually do it. And we take the feedback from our employees, and that's what we come up with something like this to implement.
It's incredible to hear about the Tom Wood University, and I can't wait to continue to hear how this develops as you continue to add more and more to the application. And, another piece within training that we're hearing a lot of conversations about, and so I'd love to hear your perspective on this too. A lot more customers today are watching videos and engaging in e-commerce purchase decisions. And of course, Amazon's a big player in that, and we all pull out our phones and, choose to purchase items, right on our mobile device. But we're seeing it more happening in our parts departments and also in the service transaction where, videos of what's going on with the customer's car or videos from the advisor, those are becoming better communication methods with consumers today. And so could you talk to us a little bit, what types of technology are you using at Tom Wood within your e-commerce strategies?
We love e-commerce as well. Our owner Jeff Wood is a big proponent of that. So we do have Revolution parts in some of our stores. Some of the OEMs have some pretty good e-commerce situation on the parts side of what they're doing. We're also in an app system. A lot of people that know me know we jumped into this Spiffy franchise. It's been almost 4 years now. And it's an app-based system that you can dispatch a vehicle to your house. We'll do complete detail oil change. We're now in the process of rolling that into our own Tomwood mobile service using their app. It's a partnership with Spiffy, but it'll go away from the franchise model and get more into the repair model, because we also understand now, because we understand the mobile side, that you may just want to get your oil change while you're at work, or we can now change oil, do services on your vehicle, fix your brakes, change your tires, do it all while you're in your office, and you don't even have to come outside because we have the app system that allows you to pay for that. Our partnership with UVI, I'm also known as the UVI guy. I have 13 of these things now in our group. But what UVI has done as well is the video, 1,100 picture videos of your vehicle as you drive it to any of my service departments. And that video is a link that's sent to you. We've teamed up with MyKarma to integrate fully that now the minute you drive through, it takes your license plate, it matches it into our system with the VIN and says, okay, we know this is Sarah, and it texts you the video that just happened while your vehicle's there, so you have it. You know everything, top, bottom, dings, scratches, oil leaks, anything that's not normal in your vehicle, tires, are they expired, you have bulges, or is it safe to drive? You get that before you get out of the vehicle or your car with the technology of UVI. So when I say I'm in the AI space, I am, and I love to make it more convenient for our employees and customers. And how many times do we say we just don't have time to do the walk around of the car, or we miss something, or this or that. This just does it for us, and allows us to get just kind of get back after what we're there to do, and that's take care of the client. So big into the space. I love it. We have a few more cool things on the horizon I can't talk about yet, but stay tuned for that.
Well, Bill, it has been a pleasure getting to have you on our 26th event today at Tailgate Touchdown with the Fixed Ops Roundtable. You always share so many incredible insights, and so I'm looking forward to having you back on future roundtables in 2025.
That sounds wonderful. I noticed your jersey says Kansas City. I'm going to say go Colts.
We've got, and everybody on the Fixed Ops Roundtable, definitely shout out your teams in the chat today, because we've got a lot of different opinions out there, and I know some are more vocal than others. But thank you so much, Bill, for being part of it, and go Colts. And we're looking forward to having you back in 2025.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and look forward to it as well.
Everybody, on behalf of Teddings, this is Bill Demaree, Group Director of Fixed Operations of Tomwood Automotive Group. Stay tuned. We've got some incredible segments coming up next at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Get active with our next segment featuring Proactive Dealer Solutions and Covideo.
Welcome back back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here today with the Proactive Dealer Solutions panel with Covideo and Margaret Henney, VP of Marketing, and Tiffany Peeler, VP of Sales at Proactive Dealer Solutions. Ladies, welcome to the Roundtable.
Thanks, Sarah. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great to be here.
Margaret, I want to come to you first because this entire segment today is going to be around the topic of video, which we are seeing an increasingly present, video is becoming increasingly more present in our fixed operations department and the dealership as a whole. But I wanted to ask you, first, what is really, going on and when it comes to video? What are you seeing, dealerships doing in their both sales and service departments?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for letting me be a part of this conversation, by the way. Excited to dig in with you. We were talking a little bit before we got on here, Tiffany and I, and it feels like a lot of times when it comes to video, sales gets all the love, right? At least that's what it's like right now. It's something that's been adopted, pretty broadly across dealerships in the sales department, but in service, it's been maybe a little bit slower to catch up. And so I'm really excited to think about, where that can be used, because really the value makes sense between both of those departments. It's all about transparency. It's about genuine connection with people. It's about realizing there's a real person on the other end of this, humanizing these interactions and these conversations with people. And that's why video is just so valuable. I think if you do a little challenge, I love to ask people this. Just look in your waiting area of your service drive and, people who are waiting, and think about what they're doing, right? Like it's heads down on your phone, you're skimming through social media, and it's video after video after video. And so that really tells us video is the preferred medium and the language that people want to speak in and be spoken to these days. So why not give people what they want, what they've come to expect? Because there's just so much more you can communicate using video rather than just the written word.
Well, Margaret, I'm glad you mentioned the fixed operations department getting the love and getting the center stage when it comes to the video experience. We're seeing that happen. Technicians are now in front of the camera. They're the ones that are having to speak, to the customer and hold the camera right and do all of those pieces. How does Covideo really help a service advisor or a service technician get that information to a customer?
Yeah. Well, I would say what we do, the biggest thing that really helps people is streamline the process. So for instance, when we think about recording a video, hey, that's something we might be able to do on our phone, but then what does it look like to get that to the customer and get the insights about how they're engaging with that video? That's really where the value of Covideo comes in. We allow people to record directly from our platform. It automatically uploads. It's all hosted in the cloud. And then what you're sending along to people is a link. So it's not this big bulky file that's coming through in either an email or a text message. So it makes it really seamless, not only for the technician to record and send and track all of that, but a really seamless experience for the customer, which is the most important thing, right? Making sure they're having a great experience. And hats off to those technicians, by the way, when they're doing that, because you are juggling a lot of balls. And I really appreciate that. But I can't tell you how valuable it is, because oftentimes customers will say and remember who that technician was that they worked with. That's the individual that they're building trust with. So that's that relationship you want to keep. You don't want to hide behind the camera. Go out in front of that camera, because that relationship is really going to be the thing that makes that lasting impression for repeat business, referrals, improved CSI scores, all that good stuff.
Well, and we're seeing so many different, ways that the video is being utilized in that customer experience. And I'm glad you mentioned, the trust and having that improved ROI in the service department. I'm sure dealers are wondering as they're listening today. So, Tiffany is on here, Proactive Dealer Solutions, and they're probably wondering, okay, so what is the relationship between Covideo and Proactive? And so, Tiffany, how does Proactive Dealer Solutions help dealerships with the video pieces?
Yeah. So to bring it all together and make this all make sense, we've been working with Margaret and the Covideo team for several months now. And obviously, they provide best in class video solutions. And our team is providing best in class training solutions to the dealerships. We have a training team of more than 45 consultants across, the US and Canada that is working in stores hands-on with sales and service departments to really optimize their lead management process and improve the overall customer journey. And so oftentimes when we think about, lead management, she's talking about sales. Yes, that is a part of what we do and who we train. And we're partnered with the Covideo team on providing training solutions to dealers who are leveraging the Covideo product in an effort to help them understand where to insert it in their process and then what to say when they record these videos, because sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable. But even more importantly, show them what's in it for them, right? Show the salespeople, show the sales managers, here's how you can leverage video. Here's the results you're getting from video. Here's how we can insert it into your process, and then upskill the team on how to become more comfortable using it. Our goal is to do the same thing on the service side and work with our stores that aren't currently leveraging a video solution to have them add it to their process. And from a training standpoint, we kind of pride ourselves on being kind of tech agnostic. We can work with stores using any product, but it's always great for our consultants to have the best in class solutions kind of in their back pocket. So our team is trained up on the Covideo solution. And if we're in a store offering training consulting on the service side, we're able to say, hey, here's how we can potentially add Covideo into this process and really plus up that customer experience for you, right? And teaching technicians, again, how to record it, what to say, showing the advisor what's in it for you, but also really working with the leadership team in store to understand, how do you make this a personalized, exceptional experience for the customer? And some of the ways that a really fantastic operation might incorporate video is not only with the technician, right? Explaining to the customer, here's what we found, here's what we recommend doing with the vehicle, here's why. That builds the trust. But maybe we could really plus up these customer interactions by, maybe for a store, potentially struggling with show rate, but introducing a video confirming the appointment for their service appointment coming up. Hey, we're excited to see you. I would love to see advisors doing a post-appointment kind of CSI follow-up video. And I think that those things would really transform the consumer's experience as they're servicing with us. Therefore, doing what we all want to be able to do, which is kind of put that customer life cycle in place. Hey, I have a really great experience at this dealership. It's where I service. I'm ready to buy. I'm going to go there because they take such great care of me, right? Yeah. And now we're building these really personalized interactions with the dealership that are only going to create kind of that long-term loyalty.
Yeah. And I'll add to that, Tiffany, you did a great job explaining that. You covered so much, but also for our people who are leaders here, I know oftentimes we think of them as siloed departments, sales and service, right? Yeah. But they're all working holistically together, right? When we have a great experience in service, those people keep coming back and trusting you and saying, hey, yeah, this is my dealership. That feeds the funnel again for those new, fresh leads and for referrals. And great reviews, which are so important for both of those departments. And another thing that I like to use video for, even though this might not be coming from, of course, the technicians, but reminders about service that needs to happen, whether that's 3 months down the road or, hey, your first appointment with us after purchasing, that first oil change is on us. Using video, because again, the more we can connect with people and create this sort of brand almost for your dealership, yes, that is so much more memorable. It's so much more impactful, and really, as Tiffany was saying, just creates that better experience. And a little bit of a analogy that I like to use that works with Covideo and a Proactive Dealer Solutions, it's like, hey, let's think about what you do when you need to get fit, right? Okay, you need your gym equipment, right? And you need your healthy food. Okay, that's Covideo. That's your tool. But then you need someone to come in there and crack the whip and say, all right, here's what we're going to do. This is your meal plan. These are the exercises that we're going to do today. That's Proactive Dealer Solutions coming and bringing those things together and saying, here is the tools that you need. We're going to help you work this into your process in the best, most efficient way.
Yeah, no, that was a perfect analogy, Margaret. I love that.
Thank
We're going
you.
to have to use that in the future.
Thanks.
And it's exciting to hear the partnership that you both have and that holistic approach that you're addressing with the employee as well. And, you know, Margaret, one of the things that I'm sure it comes up in a lot of the conversation that we're hearing in the industry around video, a lot of dealerships are utilizing, you know, video at different points in the process, you know, when it comes to service acquisition, when they're sending a video over, you know, hey, we'd like to buy your trade, and here it is, it happens to be in the shop, but you know, you could upgrade to this other vehicle, and they're doing innovative things on that approach. But one of the interesting areas that often we hear dealerships talking about is, you know, I don't really know what to measure. Like, how do I know that the videos that I'm doing are actually, you know, reaching the right audience? Are they successful? Is it anecdotal? Like, and so could you talk to us a little bit? How does Covideo help a dealership understand the data behind the videos?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because it's so important. I think that's where a lot of the value comes through in a platform like Covideo, because not only do you get real-time notifications when your videos are being viewed, so you get to see, okay, Tiffany is watching the video that I sent her, and I can see she watched it 3 different times and rewound to this certain section. Maybe I need to touch on that again. Or calls to action that I've got, particularly on the service side. You can also say, hey, these are some of our recommended repairs, right? Click to approve these repairs directly from your video. So you're engaging with people and getting their attention and getting their buy-in right there at the same time. So you can see and feel those results very quickly and very easily, rather than say, if you just send it through your phone, did somebody watch it? Did they even receive it? So all of those questions get answered when you're using a holistic platform like Covideo.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in there too. Sorry. That's part of the value that our coaches can bring, right? Is our goal when we partner with the store on a training initiative is to focus on training a trainer, right? Yes, we want to upskill the team. We want to help them with skills development, tell them what to say, how to say it, why it works for them and how it benefits them. But our goal is really to work with BDC managers, service managers, fixed ops directors to say, okay, you've adopted this video application. You're going to be using it now in these areas throughout your kind of customer interaction. Here are the KPIs that we want to look at, but that Covideo tells us kind of determine whether or not we're being successful. But now here's how we need to action that. So if someone has interacted or rewound to this portion of the video, here's what we're going to call and then say to that customer. It's similar to how on, you know, the sales side, CDPs and digital retailing tools have given us so much insight into what the customer's next step is, or what we need to say when we reach out, right? We teach people, read the lead before you proceed. If they are at this point in the process, your goal is to get them to the next step. Video in the fixed op side gives us similar insight, right? With the BDC being able to see, okay, this customer engaged with this video, I know that I'm going to call them back and follow up on that message from that video. And it only helps us kind of drive those business development objectives.
And Margaret, one of the pieces, I'm sure people listening, you know, Covideo is in the sales department and also in service. So what kind of analytics can the dealership see, you know, everything at once? Or how does a dealer really interpret that information when they're looking at the sales and service experience that a customer might be getting?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So we've got some really in-depth reporting that allow you to drill down either to the entire organization or by department, which is probably going to be the most useful in this case, right? It is easier in this case to have a little bit of that siloed view to see where is video impacting and how is it being adopted on my sales side and how is it on the service side. So we would actually look at those as two separate reports to make sure that adoption is happening, that results are happening. And another thing that I think is really important here too, this is something that dealerships can do themselves, but often I find that they don't necessarily. That's why folks like Tiffany are so helpful, and Covideo supports you in this as well, is simply getting your benchmarks, right? So anytime you add a new tool or a new process, let's take a look. What are our benchmark results for conversions, for revenue, all of that right now? Then it's like, okay, we're changing this one thing or these two things. Take a look at it 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the road, and how have those results improved? That's another really great, easy way to take a look at that impact. I think sometimes we're so caught up in the day because in a dealership, there is so much to be done. We're keeping our head above water, right? But I can't tell you how important it is to take stock of where you start in order to appropriately measure where you're going.
Well, and Margaret, one of the other pieces, I thought I saw this on your website, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a statistic that Covideo had shared that 65% of people who first take their vehicle in for service first learned about the dealership through video in some capacity. And so this extends not only, into the customer experience when the person is there, in the service drive or in that appointment piece, but it's also happening before that. So for what tips could you recommend a dealership implement if they're starting this marketing strategy, from before the customer ever arrives?
Yeah, before the customer ever arrives. So you're going to have obviously a two-pronged approach here if we're thinking about sales and if we're thinking about service here. So always using video for those inbound internet leads to introduce yourself, provide in-depth vehicle walkarounds. I love it for appointment reminders. And a lot of the things we're using over there, they coincide on the service side as well. So video MPI, again, appointment reminders like Tiffany was talking about, letting them know when they're ready. And also, I just love for customers a general check-in. Hey, it's an anniversary. It's a birthday. You purchased your car here 2 years ago. Are you still loving it? Is it time for a trade-in? So those things definitely blur the lines between both sales and service. So I do want to make sure people are thinking about it more holistically there. And some things that get you excited too about the possibilities, not just providing a better experience, but of course, that all contributes to our bottom line. Dealerships report a 25 to 35% increase in acceptance rates when they are using video MPI on those repair orders, and then a 35 to 60% increase in revenue per RO when you're using video in service.
Wow. That's incredible, Margaret. And Tiffany, one of the things that I know Proactive Dealer Solutions has, and this is something that I think is incredible, the masterclass that you offer for service managers. How does Covideo, how does the solutions and the training, tie into that approach when it comes to helping a service manager really set the stage for, video in their service departments?
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. So we have a sales and service masterclass sessions. These sessions are held both at our home office just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. We have a training facility here, but they're also held regionally. And oftentimes we actually do these alongside the OEMs that we're partnered with as well. But when we do a masterclass, it's 3 days in length. And we invite advisors, definitely BDC agents, BDC managers, fixed ops directors, service managers to attend these sessions. And our goal is to train them on best practices for, again, improving your customer journey, understanding what the customer journey is today when they're calling in to book an appointment, visiting the website, and then where the areas for opportunity continue to be. A lot of those outbound revenue generating campaigns. How do I mine customers who buy and make sure that they service and then retain those customers over a period of time, ultimately get them back to the sales department. And we also teach the stores during this masterclass how to communicate with their customers. So we do a lot of DISC training, part of that is where can you leverage part of the masterclass value is also in where can you leverage the existing technology that you have in store to, again, plus up that experience or improve the KPIs in the certain areas that you're focused on. So, for example, we've always taught for years and years a pre-booking process. It goes back 10 plus years ago. If the customer buys, I'm going to pre-book them for their first appointment 6 months out. We're going to do it this way. The BDC is going to call and follow up and specific day and time. Adding video now to that very simple kind of old school pre-booking process pluses that up for the customer. So sending a video message from an advisor, from a BDC agent saying, hey, we know you purchased this. It's time for your first service appointment. Let me walk you around the showroom. Let me know when you're ready to book. Is just one example of what is taught during those masterclass sessions on how to incorporate video into your existing process, why to do it, how to measure the success of it, and then what to teach your people to say in those videos, depending on the specific campaigns. Our goal is to give Margaret and any Covideo client coming on board with their solution a free seat to one of our master classes. We want dealers using these solutions. We want them to adopt not only the video technology, but obviously we're also in the software space with Brook.ai. We want to teach these dealers how to really adopt these technologies into their process to modernize and improve those customer interactions. So.
And I think it's so exciting having this hands-on, really tangible, like workshop space because, everything is like, hey, in theory, right? Until we really get our hands on and start doing it. And to me, that is the best way to learn. It's sort of like, okay, ladies, let's think back a long time ago when we were taking tests. I don't know about you, but the best way for me was when I had to work out problems, right? Yeah. It wasn't just reading the material or sitting in class. I got to pick up my pencil and I got to start working it out. I'm like, okay, I get it. That's what these workshops are for there too. They really get to get hands-on and it starts to click. So there's information that I think dealers know, right? It's in their brain waves, right? But it's different to know it and to understand it when you physically start doing it.
Yeah, and that's a great point because we really like to see the attendees get out from outside the store and away from the distraction. And our workshops are, there's a little teaching at the front of a room out of a book style during the workshop session, but much of the time in our class is practical application based. So like we're pulling up the phones and doing the recordings and we're actually sending communications out to real customers. So we can teach people, here's how this works and how easy and simple it can be and the impact it can also have.
There's so much information that we've covered today, Margaret and Tiffany. I know that we are going to have a lot more to cover at future roundtable events on this topic. And so I just want to thank both of you for being part of the show today. And everyone, Margaret Henney, VP of Marketing with Covideo, and Tiffany Peeler, VP of Sales at Proactive Dealer Solutions. If you want more information about either company, just look down at the ticker at the bottom of the screen and you can get in touch with these ladies as well. We look forward to having you both back on future segments to talk more about this incredible topic.
We'd love that.
Thank you, Sarah.
Everyone stay tuned. We've got some exciting segments coming up next at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
It's a Fixed Ops family reunion with the Northwood Daughters panel up next. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Northwood University's pop-up event. I'm Katrina Ness with Sarah Vantine, and this is our Mother and Daughters panel.
Katrina, I'm so excited because for me, and I know Jen, this is such a great opportunity. We get to be up here today at Northwood University with our daughters, getting to have some conversation around all things automotive, and then also just being, women and young women considering their futures. Jen, thank you again for coming on this panel today. And Katrina, how does it feel to be up here with your mom at Northwood University, getting to share the spotlight and have this conversation?
It feels awesome. My mom has been a huge role in my career and my future development. She really kind of influenced me to go to Northwood a little bit. Cox Automotive, which is where she works as has great connections with Northwood University. So she told me about this school, and I came up here and I toured, and I found out it was the right place for me. And I'm so happy I'm here, and this is how everything has come to be. So it's cool to be up here with my mom once again. She always comes up and visits, and it's nice to have her up here on a panel for the first time.
Well, I get the opportunity too with Jen. We get to be up here with our daughters, and my daughter, Taylor Vantine, is sitting right next to me as well. And so this is the first opportunity I've had a chance to get to ask Taylor a question. Taylor, how does it feel to be up here at Northwood University?
It feels really good. I really like this college, and it's very pretty and everything. So yeah.
And what grade are you in, Taylor?
I'm in 6th grade.
Wow, wonderful. So I'll ask the moms some questions. What is it like being a mother while working in the automotive industry? Because both of you have wonderful backgrounds within the industry through Quantum 5, and then the Teddings Fixed Ops Roundtable, and then my mother through Cox and all your other career paths. So Sarah, want to go first?
Sure. It's been an interesting journey. So Taylor is 11 years old. She's turning 12. But I remember getting into the automotive industry, and one of the career paths that changed for me was considering what it was going to be like as a wife. I got engaged when I was in the car business, and then became a mother. And I was pregnant at the dealership with Taylor right up until she was born. I left the dealership and went to the hospital. And so being a mom in automotive has been an interesting journey. We think about all of the different ways that our career trajectory can go, but one thing that always was top of mind was how do I include being a mother into this career, and how do I include all of the things that make me a great professional into being a great mother. And so for me, one of the biggest pieces in my career development was looking at opportunities that allowed me to be both sides of who I am. And so that was really, for me, every choice that I've made along the way in the 15 plus years that I've been in the automotive industry, it's all really been around the decisions that I've made for my family. And I'm sure Jen has very similar sentiments.
I do, and I've been in the industry a little longer than that, Sarah, but I'm so pleased with how it's evolved for women, right? When you and I first entered the industry, we were definitely minorities, right? At the time it was male dominated, and I remember being pregnant for the first time. I hid my pregnancy until I was almost in my 3rd trimester, because it's just something we didn't talk about very much. But a couple decades passed, and boy, is it a different environment now for women, and I'm so optimistic now for our daughters, because great companies are competing for great talent, and they absolutely respect work-life balance, and it's so important, right? And they know in order to keep good talent, you've got to be accommodating to these types of circumstances.
Well, and Jen, we're seeing this with the younger generations. It's not just women, it's all of these future generations that are really putting the top piece in their professional career on how do I have the ability to be my authentic self and do the things that I'm interested in, but also have a fulfilling and empowering professional career. Katrina, how has your experience at Northwood evolved your professional aspirations?
Northwood is an amazing university to be at, especially in the automotive industry. So in terms of my career and my future professions, this school has accelerated me beyond words. We have so many different experiential learning opportunities at this school where you really get that outside world kind of examples. So when you're pushed into the workforce, you're almost ready and kind of being able to just hop right in. I feel like I'm set for life and I'm ready to go as soon as I graduate. Yeah.
And Taylor, you've got a little ways to go before you're a Northwood student or considering your college options, but you have been able to meet incredible young women like Katrina and Vanessa at this event at Northwood University. How has being able to be on campus impacted your thinking about the future?
Well, I mean, it does make me think a lot about the future, and I kind of want to go to the school.
She has some time, but I mean, it's a great university to think of even at a young age. We have a lot of different activities that we do here with younger high school students and even going into freshman year. We have summer camps and stuff that we host here. So Taylor, when you're ready, we're ready for you. And if she's interested in the automotive industry, this is definitely the place to be as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So speaking of Northwood University, I'm going to ask my mom a question. What's it like being a Northwood parent?
Oh, it's tremendous. I didn't think that you would wind up here in a small university setting. As you recall, we toured many campuses. We live in the great state of Michigan, and there are a lot of public school options. I do remember when Katrina and I came on this campus for the very first time, I didn't want to push her. I wanted this to be her decision. And President Kent McDonald spoke at an open house, and he said to the parents in the audience, if you entrust your students to us, I promise that they won't get lost on this campus and they won't be able to hide.
Oh, yeah.
And that just hit me in the heart as a parent when you send your kids off to college. Around the same time, my older daughter was at a large state university, and she was struggling. She was in classes with 200 and 300 people in an auditorium. She wasn't finding her people. She was getting lost, and she was able to hide, the two things that Dr. McDonald said that wouldn't happen here. Katrina came up with, this decision herself, and I couldn't be more pleased.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting to me to get to have the opportunity to see and meet Jen and talk to her about her experience as a Northwood parent. Taylor's my oldest, and we're a little ways from that, but education is always so important to us, and we have built our family around learning. And I know, Taylor, that you've enjoyed the opportunities to be here and get to see so many different pieces and have that in the back of your mind as you continue to develop as a person.
Okay.
That's right. One last thing I'd like to say about the Katrina's university experience is, I've been in the business for 30 years, and it took me probably 5, 6, maybe even 7 years going from dealership to dealership to dealership when I was with an OEM to learn the amount of business and context that she has absorbed just in the last year or two. It's been incredible. So it really has accelerated her career.
Yeah, and like my mom said, Northwood really gets you going in the automotive industry. I know the lingo. We're learning that as a process. I get opportunities to do this. We have our auto show on campus currently, another great experiential learning opportunity for students to get involved and excel their roles and responsibilities in their network. So
Well, Katrina, it has been an absolute pleasure getting to see you continue to grow and evolve as you build your way into the future of automotive. And Jen Ness, it was such a pleasure to get to meet you. I know that we'll have you back for certain on future events, and it'll be exciting to see and have your perspective again as Katrina gets out into the workforce.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, on behalf of Ted Ings, I'm Sarah Vantine here today with Taylor Vantine, Jen Ness, and Katrina Ness. Stay tuned. We have more exciting segments coming up on the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
American colleges are bulging at the seams today as hundreds of thousands of young people try to get college training to qualify them for jobs. The competition is intense. What makes Northwood different from other colleges?
Northwood is particularly different because of its approach to the business world.
These speakers put the MVP in dealer business management.
We're here live at Northwood University. We are at the International Auto Show at the CAM Summit, America's University, and our panel today, Ted, we are going to be talking about dealer business management. Who do we have with us today?
And Sarah, I'm very honored as well because we've got some great names in our industry with us here today. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, starting with Jeff, and tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Northwood, for having us. A lot of energy on this campus, and you should be really proud of what you've accomplished here. My name is Jeff Beals. I'm the Senior Vice President of Professional Services at CDK Global. I'm responsible for implementation of hardware, software, in our consulting business.
And just hand them. Sure.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. I'm Tom Kline. I'm lead consultant and founder of Better Vantage Point. I'm a former dealer of 30 years. I do risk and compliance consulting, and I like to say that running a dealership is like trying to tuck an octopus into bed, but the tentacles keep flopping all over the place. So I'm the guy who tucks the tentacles. Great to be here.
Rebecca?
Hi, Becky Chernek here. It's a pleasure to be here with the folks here with Northwood University. And so I've been involved in the automotive industry for my entire career, starting out with my father, who had a Cadillac and Pontiac dealership, and worked my way up the ladder into F&I. And F&I I found was made for me. and I was made for F&I, and then later became a national F&I consultant throughout the USA, obviously, and Canada, and then later as a corporate F&I director, and currently now working with Agora Data. Thank you.
And I'm Brian Kramer. I'm the Executive Vice President of Cars Commerce, which we own Cars.com, Dealer Inspire websites, AccuTrade, acquisition tools, Fuel, in-market video, that whole suite of products. I spent 28 years in retail, 20 of those years running dealerships for the Germain Automotive Group and AutoNation.
Thank you, everyone on our panel today. Brian, I'm going to come to you first. You know, we are talking about the current economic concerns. There's things like interest rates that are at top of mind for customers. What should we be paying attention to?
Well, obviously a lot, and I'm of the belief that you can control any situation, and regardless of good times, bad times, it's a matter of what you can control, and there's enough controllables that you can control your way out of any situation. But on a macro level, I would say that for an affordability issue, I think that, you know, we were talking about EVs a moment ago. I think used EVs are a huge opportunity. There's a lot of availability of those vehicles at the auctions, a lot of people not going after them. And it's a great vehicle. We see on Cars.com websites that 8% of the consumers are looking for an EV, a used EV, but 12% are actually transacting on a used EV. So what does that tell? That tells me that everybody doesn't know that they want one yet, but they do know that they can afford one as soon as they come in on a Camry or another vehicle, the Honda Accord. Once they come in on that vehicle, switching them to a Tesla Model S or something like that is, I think, something that every dealership needs to think about right now.
And I'll come to you, Jeff. So for your perspective, what current economic concerns should we be thinking about?
Yeah, I think, to me, every concern is also an opportunity. And when I look at historical downtimes and things that we're preparing for, it always comes back to fixed ops and how we can manifest better profits and resistance and resilience through fixed operations. So, my advice is to really focus on those areas, get tight in your fixed operations, your parts, because there's plenty of mitigations in those areas. And it's also a place where you can really focus on a great customer experience and get customer retention and loyalty back to where it needs to be to maintain a successful dealership.
Tom, your perspective.
Thanks, Sarah. My perspective here is it's not necessarily how much money you make as a dealership, it's how much money you keep. And the current political and regulatory environment continues to be challenging for dealerships. And I think that will continue regardless of what happens in November. The FTC, the CFPB, all are more active. You've seen a lot of regulatory actions. The attorneys general in the states are partnering more with the FTC. And I think now is a good time to make sure your house is in order from a compliance and risk perspective, to make sure that you can weather those economic problems when they come, or that you're prepared for problems actually before they get to the dealership.
Becky, what current economic concerns should dealers be paying attention to?
I like the idea behind understanding your cost of sale, understanding where you are at all times, and recognizing the importance of being able to back into the total cost of sale of selling a car to finance to fixed ops. I think many times we don't really take into factor the total cost of sale and how we're impacting our sales, and potentially the idea of keeping our customer in our own ecosystem and controlling that book of business, and how important that is, what one customer, to retain that individual, not only at point of sale, but also from later on to retain that customer into service. And so when we drive that behavior of having a better understanding of the individual, our customer base, and understanding how we drive that business is going to be critical going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
One last thing, just to touch on what Bob Cron said earlier in the last session. He talked about used cars and fixed operations. Those are the two things that are controllable in any environment, any economy. And I don't think that enough dealers are focusing on 100% service absorption and tracking that and going after that relentlessly in order to prepare themselves if there is an economic downturn. That's the first thing. The second thing is used vehicle acquisition. Franchise dealers are getting squeezed and pinched by used car acquisition consolidators to acquire their consumers' trades. And that's the key to service loyalty and retention. So the look to book numbers and everything needs to be rethought and redefined. And everybody needs to look at, for how many new cars do you sell? What percentage of those have a trade? For every used car you sell, what percentage of those have a trade? And 43% is the average on new cars, and 28% is the average on used cars. Those numbers are way too low. It should be 70%. So if you're not at that number, you're a dealer and you don't know if you're appraising enough cars. And in many cases, new car franchises are appraising less cars than they're selling. So I would take a hard look at that across the whole country. It's a serious opportunity. That's how you galvanize yourself and insulate yourself from any economic external conditions.
So let me ask the panel, here we are squarely in the fourth quarter. And within a matter of just a few weeks, we'll blink our eyes, we'll be in a brand new year. And there's a lot ahead, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change happening. So I want to ask the panel, I'll start with Brian Kramer. What are any of the concerns or opportunities you see on the horizon? And if some of you want to speak to things such as the regulations that are on the horizon, but opportunities and concerns that we may or may not be aware of, Brian Kramer.
Well, everybody I think is familiar with the CARS Act and truth in lending, FTC violations, and all those sorts of things. I would already, if anybody who's not doing that needs to already be doing that because it's the right thing to do. But overall, from a transparency standpoint, if you want to acquire more trades, you have to be more transparent. If customers don't want to spend as much time, you need to lead with transparency and just being, honest in your online merchandising. When it's gonna create more friction, take longer when the client arrives if there's a lot more add-ons and things that aren't fully disclosed. If the goal is to increase sales velocity, increase appraisal velocity, and increase service RO velocity, it's not only the right thing to do, they're going to force it down on I don't like regulations personally. I don't like anything being forced on me. I would rather see it as the profit opportunity. I look at it as a competitive advantage. But I would say at some point, everybody's going to have to do it. If you've already done the hard part of retraining your staff, hiring for that, you're already ahead of the game. But everybody's going, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
Tom Kline, you're doing a lot of great work on the compliance side. I want to ask you the same question. What do you see on the horizon in terms of opportunities, concerns, and perhaps even key regulations?
Thanks, Ted. Compliance. Nobody likes compliance, right? No. If Brian said to his wife, I want dinner at 6 and you better comply, he'd be promptly divorced, right? So let's get a different paradigm a little bit for compliance real quickly. Compliance is simply someone has to do a thing, whatever that thing is, at some point in time and periodically, and then prove that it's done, right? That's what compliance is. And I think that the CARS Act that Brian mentioned, there's oral arguments in Texas in November. And I think that a ruling will be handed down in Q1 in 2025. What the CARS Act really does is it forces transparency into the sales process. Probably the biggest shift that if it passes, and I believe that it will, the biggest shift that you're going to see is that there isn't going to be, in my opinion, there won't be any more MSRP advertising because processing fees or dock fees will have to be included in the advertised price. So that's going to create a shift not only for the dealers, how they advertise, how they think about advertising. It's also going to force all the website providers to be able to change, how all that looks. The disclosures have to be, quote, clear and conspicuous, which they're supposed to be already. So I think that there will be a lot of people who are scratching their heads and trying to figure out how to make that work from a retailing perspective, because it's going to shift how people retail cars, with the exception of some states like Georgia. Georgia already has that you have to have those fees included in advertised pricing. So, of course, I could talk about this for a long time. But
I have a follow-up for you.
Sure.
So, Tom, you mentioned the dock fee. Okay, there is very little, if any, consistency between dealers in terms of what they charge for things such as a dock fee.
Right.
And now there's going to need to be a need for disclosure, okay?
Right.
Where a lot of this is going to be more transparent. Talk to us about some of the roadblocks and challenges ahead that dealers can expect, because this is coming a lot quicker than people realize.
Right. Well, I mean, I think the first thing, and I've been in a lot of stores, and if you ask a salesman, say, hey, what's that processing fee for? And you'll get answers from, well, that's for the owner's boat payment. Up to well, that's the fee that's charged, and they try to go into a very uncomfortable, that's what we, and they really can't get it out. It's like, come on, you can do it. So I think some training in that area is going to be super important, obviously. To know what that really is and what you can and can't say, because certain states have certain requirements and regulations about what you can and can't say and what it's for, and is it mandatory or is it not mandatory? And in some states, the fees are capped. I think New York is one of those. I think $175. It's capped. So it really is going to depend a lot on what state the dealer is in.
Becky, these regulations, you are very much aware and on top of that, especially on the F&I, on the finance and insurance side. Talk about that and what's ahead for dealers and what can we expect?
Well, actually, Tom and I had dinner last night, and we were talking about the compliance and our dealers really understanding their responsibility when it comes to compliance and rules and regulations. And are we in the trenches actually implementing the rules of engagement, I call that, and are we embracing those rules of engagement so that it is in our everyday process? And from someone who's in the trenches and recently, I can tell you we struggle with some of this. We struggle with having a better understanding, the education of understanding what our responsibilities are when it comes to doing the right thing. Are we above board? Are we being ethical? Do our processes and our culture match our mission to be ethical and upfront and transparent with our customers? And frankly, we do need to do a better job. It is important. Part of when I provided workshops throughout the country, I would always start off with, let's understand first rules of engagement. Once we can understand rules of engagement, we can understand these best practices. And until we understand rules of engagement, to understand the reasons why we do what we do, it doesn't come together. That's our challenge.
Jeff Beal, let me come to you.
Sure. Look, I'll kind of take a byproduct of what we're talking about with transparency. I think we learned a lot from what transparency success looks like, particularly in fixed ops, when we've looked at things like video and really engaging the customer ahead of time to get them educated on what they have. Well, we're at a point in time now where the consumer is going to be more educated than ever, and it's time to prepare. It's a time now where, as we prepare for these regulations, that you can have training with your sales staff, get a more consultative approach, because your customers are coming in now with more information than ever, and being able to have those approaches, have that transparency, and really give a consultative approach. I heard a lot of great talks in the last panel about hospitality. We are a hospitality business, and now that differentiator is going to be more important than ever, both from a profitability standpoint, selling and servicing more vehicles, but also adapting to some of these new rules and regulations that are coming out that are going to affect our industry. So to me, it's embracing the things that we've been successful with, transparency being one of those things. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to turn something that could be a little bit uncomfortable into something that's wildly successful.
We're here at Northwood University with our audience today, many of whom are students at Northwood University. And one of the things, Brian, I think I'll come to you to ask this. There's a lot of challenges today on employee recruitment and how do we get people to work in our dealerships that are going to make our customers, want to be loyal and come back to us. What do you feel would be some of the challenges that we're seeing today, and how can we address them?
Well, I would say obviously there's a technician shortage, there's a labor shortage. Finding younger sales associates that are drawn to this industry to work, evenings, weekends, has always been a challenge. Where I'm at in Florida, we're open on Sundays, pretty much every dealership in the Southeast. So it's always a challenge, but there's also opportunities within all those challenges. I think it comes down to the last panel said, leadership. And it comes down to people leave leaders, they don't leave jobs. But as the leader's job is, and I think it was said in the last one, is to attract, develop, promote, and retain talent. And if the leader isn't doing that, and there's some OEMs that are investing in that, there's a lot of dealers that are investing in that, but I think that it's not even, it starts with general management and obviously top leadership, but it's also the middle management needs training and needs to understand and provide clarity of expectations. When decisions are, when expectations are clear, decisions become very easy. And I don't think there's enough clarity in this industry as to what the expectations are. That's the first thing. The second thing is you got to empower all of your associates. When I was in retail, we enabled them to appraise their own vehicles. They could take a deal, pretty much start to finish. So when somebody else tries to recruit them, which happened many, many times, and offer them more money, once they realized that they weren't going to be able to move as fast and get as much accomplished, and they had to wait and just, all this friction, they wouldn't leave. They wouldn't leave over money because now they're part of the culture. The third thing is you got to rethink schedules. There's service drive opportunities. The service drive, if you're a salesperson, is only, closes at 5 o'clock. Maybe it should stay open later, but in most cases, that's the case. So why do they need to work nights? And why do they need to work Sundays? And why do they need to work every other or every Saturday? So I think that's a great way to bring people into the industry. It's a great way to, and service drive acquisition is a huge opportunity. It's almost like its own internet department that can operate on its own, but we've got to rethink schedules, enablement, empowerment, and just like customers, they don't like waiting around.
Becky, your perspective.
It's all about the leadership. It is all about why do I want to work for this company or this dealership? And people follow other people that are successful. We need to encourage that momentum for individuals, new folks coming in from education into the car business. What's in it for me? Why do I want to follow you? Be the leader that other people can learn from, are encouraged to grow. Set expectations, correct expectations, have a roadmap for success. One thing I'd like to also point out, don't make it a guessing game. Give that individual all the support that we can to make sure that they can take ownership of the process of your culture and be there for them.
Jeff?
Sure. I think focus on 3 areas. And, I was told once that if you hear something twice, it's probably the right thing. So some of this will be repeat, but, to me, it's 3 key areas that we can really hone in on. 1 is training, and 2 is leadership, and 3 is flexibility, similar to kind of what Brian was saying. If you look at training, in the absence of information, people become uncomfortable, particularly in a face-to-face interaction, which in our business happens quite a lot. So really investing in your team. I heard the word lifelong learning on the panel previously, and that's not a better phrase has been coined. I don't think. You're always in a position to learn, and it's incumbent upon us, upon an industry, to provide opportunities for our associates to learn. We were fortunate to launch a professional certification program a few weeks back. That's been a huge game changer for us, and we're really excited about what that's going to do to help the industry. When it comes to leadership, again, I think it's all about how do you create that culture to keep people engaged and at your store, your group, or your enterprise. A lot of people in this room have worked at, like Brian said, at a company for their entire career. I've been fortunate to do the same for most of my career. And, it's incumbent upon us as a culture to disseminate that leadership, to make people feel comfortable enough to stay, that they will be successful and they can take care of their family or their community as such. And then flexibility. I think we can learn from some of the other industries that have non-traditional hours like healthcare and things like that, rotating shifts. It's important now to give people that flexibility, but also it's important for us to keep in mind that it's still a results-driven business, and we have to continue to make results, but offer that flexibility as well.
And Tom.
Thanks, Ted. I think I echo what everyone here said and second it. But I would say we need to pay more attention to two different areas. One is emotional intelligence, and the second is change management. People have a very difficult time with change, and people have a very difficult time understanding what emotional intelligence is and how to apply it. And so doing more training in those areas, I think, would be key to continuing. You hear of recent the words human capital, to invest in your human capital that way. And I'm also going to piggyback on one of the questions that Ted, that you or Sarah asked earlier, which is what advice would I give students? And this is along the same lines. Number one, listen more than you talk. You can't learn if you're talking. That's number one. Number two is when you are approaching a difficult situation and having a difficult conversation, have no tone in your voice. Sounds super easy to do, but if you're upset, or the other person is upset, or they're yelling at you and you're trying to handle a situation, speaking slowly and having no tone goes a long way. And I think that's important in terms of dealing with difficult situations.
Great job. Okay, let's have a lightning round. This is our last question. 30 seconds each, everybody. Maximum of 30 seconds. Along the lines of what Tom just answered, you're addressing the students at Northwood University. Here we are coming into the end of the year, a graduating class coming up in the spring. Piece of advice that you'd like to share with them. I'll start with Jeff. We'll go back to Tom, Rebecca, and we'll bring Brian Kramer to bring it home.
Yeah, for me, it's just soak it all in. This is like any experience in your life. This will be one that you never get to relive, and have a great time with your friends, your peers, learn a lot. I agree. Listen, ask questions, be inquisitive. You got a ton. This is an incredible industry that's always willing to help. And just couldn't be prouder to be here and excited to see the energy in y'all's face, and congrats to all of you.
Tom?
I don't remember what the product was they were selling many years ago, but the phrase that comes to mind is "try it, you'll like it." And so that's what I would encourage the students to do, is try it, and don't be afraid to fail. You learn a lot from failure, generally more than successes. But go out there and try it, and don't be afraid to change if that course or that direction doesn't work for you.
So as I was saying this morning, when I got into the car business back in the day, women weren't supposed to sell cars. Women would not be successful in the car business. And I didn't take no for an answer. It was a dream. It was a vision. And I made it happen every step of the way. And there were times it's tough. It's not easy. And I can tell you, sometimes at night, I would have cried myself to sleep because I made some stupid mistakes that I thought, wow, I don't think I can get over. And you go back and you face the next day and you push through and you make it happen. And you find the individuals that will help you, that will support you to push you through. And I will tell you, without a doubt, the car business has been the best business for me. And I know it will be the best business for you. Just take it, own it, and go with it.
All right.
So people always ask me, what's the best franchise to work at? Where should I, what dealer group? Should I go to this dealership across the street, or who's got the best pay plan? Who's got the best whatever? I would look for wherever you can find the best mentor. Every piece of success or every successful person I've seen in this business is a result of who took the time to train them. I think that's the most valuable asset you can look for in this business. So don't chase the money initially, or don't chase all those different things. That's, I would say, the first thing. The second thing is, it's such an exciting time to be coming into this business. And, you know, a lot of the people that were on the previous panel and people that are still here yet to come, I mean, Brian Benstock's the original disruptor in this business, and he's already shattered a bunch of paradigms that existed. And there's the public retailers and Lithia and so many other people have redefined. When I worked at AutoNation, we worked there.
Yep.
But it redefined what the car business looks like, and it keeps on, that story is being written, and you get to write that story. And I think that there's not many more things that are more exciting than that. It also used to be so transactional, and it wasn't about the experience. Tom Dahl from Subaru proved that you can sell vehicles at scale, volume, profitably. And it's not all about the price, and it's about the experience, and I'm sure he'll talk about that. But you're coming in after there's been a lot of people that have gone through the gauntlet, and it's very cool for me to see, you know, being in the business for 30 years, to think about what the next 30 are going to be. And there's really no business like the car business. So you're lucky to be in it.
Everybody give our panel some love. Fantastic job. We're at Northwood University. Everybody, we will be right back.
Go mad.
Go mad. Go mad.
Go mad.
Welcome to Northwood University. We have an incredible guest with us today. Two guests, Ted. Who do we have with us, and what have we covered so far today?
Very honored today here at Northwood University to have both Tom Dahl and Ernie Boch Jr. with us here today. Gentlemen, welcome to Northwood University.
Thank you, Ted.
Tom, I got to ask you if it's okay. Is this your first trip to Northwood, and your thoughts?
It is my first trip to Northwood, and I have to tell you, I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far, not just with the event, but also with the students. I've had the opportunity to interact with quite a number of students today, and I'm very impressed with what they've done with the auto show, with the campus, and really just how nice the people are here. It's a great student body.
And an amazing find, okay, an automotive, truly a school for automotives here in the heart, in the middle of America, and continuing education to advance a passionate pipeline of people coming into the industry.
Absolutely, and we need this in our industry. We need good young people that are going to be able to think strategically about the issues that the industry is going to be facing over the next 15 to 20 years. And that's what's nice about the younger people that are coming up today, because they're the ones that are going to lead us through this technology change. These old timers like myself, we need the help with all this new technology that's coming. So everything from AI to driverless technology, they're going to be the ones that are going to be explaining it to our customers in the future. It's going to be fantastic for them as a generation.
And Ernie, I have a feeling that you've been to Northwood perhaps once before, and may know some of the folks here.
I have been to Northwood. I think this place is one of the most amazing schools overall, never mind that it's automotive centric, which is fantastic. And anybody that's looking to grab people out of the automotive industry, come to Northwood. It's truly an amazing experience. I am here today. I come every once in a while, but I came here today to introduce the legendary Tom Dahl. He just did a talk with the students, got a standing ovation, by the way. Standing ovation, Tom. Great job.
Thank you, Ernie. Appreciate that very much.
Great honor, everybody, to have both Ernie Boch and Tom Dahl with us here at Northwood University. Please stay with us, Sarah Vantine. We're going to be right back.
MyKarma, everything fixed ops in one place. The first truly unified solution for fixed operations. A comprehensive suite of key applications, deeply integrated with software and DMS providers, and open APIs that offer unprecedented opportunities for dealerships to build custom solutions. MyKarma, a proven name with over $21 billion in payments processed, 423 million text messages transmitted, and over 9.5 million videos recorded. MyKarma users enjoy an average 16% lift in RO dollars. And innovative solutions like our Advanced Scheduler Plus and Service Cart Video MPI transform the service experience.
What I really enjoy about it is the connection and the relationship building.
We pretty much use every aspect of MyKarma that we can.
We went from a paper multi-point to a digital multi-point. It literally year over year, 350% increase in our net profit.
Actually, there's incredible online payments, easy. The cream always rises to the top with this, and you know, MyKarma has been the best.
Who's ready for Sunday Night Football? We're back at the Fixed Ops Roundtable Tailgate Touchdown event.
Get behind the wheel with our next segment from Better Car People.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the Better Car People panel. Ted, this is a very timely and important topic in our industry today.
That's right. We want to welcome Ben from Better Car People. Better Car People has several brands, and among them Brook.ai and Proactive, and they are also a part of the Retail Advisory Board at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And we want to welcome our good friend Brian Benstock from Paragon Honda, Paragon Acura. Gentlemen, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you.
All right, so here we are, squarely middle of November, in the fourth quarter, and you know, it seems that the phones have been, Brian and Ben, the top topic at the Fixed Ops Roundtable for the last 3 or 4 years. Brian, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about the relationship that your organization has with Ben's company.
You know, a long time ago, I went to a Joe Verdi seminar, and Joe Verdi talked about some difficulties that most dealers were experiencing. I'm talking about the 90s, Ted, you know, way back when in the 90s. And he said that 9 out of 10 phone calls were not being handled correctly in the dealership. He said something, as I recall, 9 out of 10 salespeople that answered the phone didn't get the customer's telephone number. 9 out of 10 salespeople didn't even get the name of the people that they were talking to. They'd say, you know, something like, "Hey, my name is Brian, come in and ask for me." And I thought if I could fix that one thing, that would give me an advantage over 90% of the other dealers that weren't doing it correctly. And, you know, we started handling that by being an early group to adopt to having a BDC. And then you start to realize and believe in the math of it all. How many phone calls can a competent BDC representative handle a month? And you start looking at the math. It takes 2.5 calls to make one contact. And, you know, we believe in contacting our customers in a targeted manner and an often. And so if you have a list that has 10,000 customers that you want to reach in a given month, well, the math says you need to make 25,000 calls. And, you know, and if your reps can handle 100 calls, I don't know, 100 calls a day, how many, you know, you'd have to hire an army of people to handle that. So we figured there are ways to do this, and those ways were what brought me, Ben and I together. And so Ben's been a real key part of our team for a number of years now.
Well, and Ben, I would love to ask you, you know, Better Car People, they've been working closely with dealerships to improve the customer experience. You know, what were your initial goals when you started working with Paragon Honda, and how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, I think the important thing about winning any championship is always to be able to do the basic things, do the tackling, do the blocking, and make sure everything is good before you start, becoming bigger and better. So I think the big thing for us was always to be able to be better, dial more. I mean, to the basic thing is always about dialing more, taking care of customers, and making sure we create more exciting environment to work for and work with. And so our agents from the beginning, some of the basic things we've always done. We've always wanted to make sure our agents wear a suit. And it's just as Brian saw, 100% of our agents as they come in now. Granted, a lot of our agents are now for work from home, but when anyone that's in the offices, they'll all have to wear a suit. We buy their first suit at times in the beginning. We want to create a culture of winning, and the most important thing for us is to be able to have an agent that makes 250 calls per day, to give them all the tools and systems in place to make 250 outbound calls per day, not auto dialer, just dial, and which is unheard of in industry. So I think that we set that the tone was, we're going to work harder than anyone, we're going to dial more than anyone, and results will carry itself.
Wow. And Brian, these agents.
Ben said that. Ted, just one second. What Ben said there is what really attracted me to him and his company is they play to win. And our team at Paragon, we're suited and booted. And I know there's a lot of people that see that differently, and some guys that allow their team to walk around in polo shirts and stuff like that. And Lord knows there are a lot of really successful dealerships that do it that way. It's just not the way that I do it. And so when Ben started telling me about his philosophy, I saw that the philosophies align. And I think it's really important that you work with people that laugh at your jokes and you laugh at their jokes, and that you're aligned. And I think Ben and I, in many ways, in our companies, in many ways, are very well aligned.
Thank you.
And Brian, I have to add, you do play to win. Okay. The agents that Ben is referring to, are they off-site? Are they on-site? How does it work?
Well, they're off-site, and we've got a team of black belts here at the dealership, but the heavy lifting gets done by Ben. We have targeted lists that we give Ben to call on a predetermined schedule, and Ben and his team will call those customers and drive traffic. And a great example will be the team up at White Plains Honda. As you may or may not be aware, I was able to purchase a store in White Plains in May of 2023. That store has gone from 200th place in the United States of America to now we're 33rd place in the United States of America. Our service department business has doubled. Honda's up 11% for the year. Our store is up 38% for the year. And a lot of that is attributed to really targeted dialing. We were calling the right customers with the right message at the right time. And it's funny, if you call them, they will respond. And again, a lot of the dealers understand this, but what's the methodology that you're going to use? Who do I call and what do I say? And well, Ben can really help you with that.
And Brian, if I can go back, what were your initial goals when you got started with Ben and his company, and how has that evolved over the years?
I'm going to sound like, I'm not going to sound. Global dominance was the initial goal, and it's still the predominant goal. Global dominance. We play to win. We want to win. Winning is what we do. I'm not satisfied. I'll never be satisfied. And Ben will tell you, I drive him crazy with the expectations that I place on him and his team. We're working on technologies and structures that, the Project Pluto, that's something we'll talk about a little bit later. I think it's an industry game changer. That imagine this. We called a small group of customers, 1,000 customers. We spent, I don't know, what was it, $15,000-$20,000, and generated in 30 days over $400,000 worth of gross profit, $400,000 and counting. So we're really excited about that, and tuning in to AI. So it's not only the right customers with the right message, but it's the right customers with the right substack of advertising and the right message combined in a sequence that gives incredible results for us. And the really great thing about this is somebody else doing it. People ask, why do you talk about this? If a dealer does it with his or her database, it doesn't hurt me. I'm in no danger of a dealer in Ohio doing this and it hurting Paragon. It's all about doing the best job you can with the database that you have, and may the best team win.
Well, Ben, I'd love to ask you this because Brian mentioned the database piece and talking about some of the data. And Paragon Honda is a leader in the automotive industry. And of course, Brian Benstock's innovations and his forward thinking in our industry is critical. And, what has it been like for you to work with a partner like Brian Benstock? And then what other, pieces with the ideas that he comes up with? You mentioned Project Pluto, so I'm curious to learn about that too. But how does that really help better car people, continue to evolve their approach?
Well, I think having an industry leader like Brian to even believe in a product, I don't see him big believer in a lot of things in product wise. He doesn't talk about many of them, which is great for us. But when someone challenges you, Brian wakes up at 4 a.m. So you have to be ready for him, and I am. As and we talk at 5 a.m., 4:30 in the morning.
I got Ben up at 5 o'clock in the morning, guys. I'm getting him there.
So it's it's about 5 a.m. and on, and I think our big thing for us is, well, having someone with his mind that just wants to win and he wants to find new ways has really allowed us to be able to go from a traditional call center, which was Central BDC, right, and then after that we acquired Better Car People and we rebranded the name of the company and now Proactive Dealer Solutions in Brook. We went from a call center to an omni-channel communication platform. So now we're talking about what an agent can do, what AI could do, and what automation could do, right? So the combination of those three things, like Brian mentioned, really allows us to be able to play big. And having access to it's very hard to find stores as large and as aggressive as Paragon Honda, Paragon Acura, and the record-beating October White Plains Honda. So it's exciting because now we have to be on top of our game. We have to bring better AI. We have to be better technology. And so we've been doing a lot of acquisition and a lot of product building to make sure that it's actually matching to what his needs are. And a lot of times, if you could satisfy one of the top Honda and Acura store on the planet, I think you could satisfy everybody else.
Ted, one of the challenges on this new frontier with AI is there's no blueprint. We're building this stuff as we're using this stuff, and it's really exciting for me and for us to say, okay, that worked. Now, how do we make it better? And then you fire another round of mailers or calls and another Substack. You measure it, and then you think you had a better plan, but then the AI says, no, that wasn't what worked. This is what worked. And you lean into it again. And this takes time, again, sequencing. What's the right sequence? What's the right messaging in the right order to which database? And there was a recent DMS provider that had some difficulties with their data. And, there's a golden lining to every storm. And the lining for me is it reminded me just how valuable our database is. And if you're going to buy a dealership, what are you paying for blue sky? Well, what are you getting for what you pay? And you're getting that database. And I guess the person selling the database is selling, saying, hey, let's see what you can do with this database. You're paying me X amount of dollars for the understanding of I'm giving you this database. And the person buying it is saying, it's worth paying this price because I think I can do something that's going to give me a reasonable return on that investment. And so my challenge to Ben on almost a daily basis is how do we find different subsets of customers within that database that we can reach with a message that speaks directly to them to drive a transaction, to drive an action that we want in the store. And I think that's really been exciting for me, is to be, what's old is new, but to use the new technology and the old methodologies and combine that expertise to do something, things that are special.
Ben, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I think, the power of, it doesn't matter if it's dealership, it's small or large, everyone's going to have a database, like Brian said. And you could segregate that data to your benefit, right? So you want to find out how you want to go after the customers. Then now on the service side and sales side would be different. But on the service side, more specifically, you want to go after customers that matter, that are going to be the lowest hanging fruit, right? So as an example, some of the particular things that we go after that are very important through our people, our technology, is through outbound campaigns, is as an example, lost service customers, right? So a customer that hasn't been in service drive the past 8 months to 2 years. Those are the customers we want to bring back and make sure they're good. We also want to use our AI and technology to be able to get the customer on the first service introduction to visit, the first visit when they buy a vehicle, right? So you buy a vehicle, next day, what happens? Customer's excited, but let's make sure everything's okay. Early intro to service drive to make sure the customer could be able to gets comfortable with the service drive, comes back there. And then you could also do things like decline ticket work, which is great, right? If you want to be able to call a customer and bring them back within 24 hours of leaving.
Ben, a lot of that stuff's esoteric and kind of fun that you're mentioning. But what about something like recalls?
Yep.
The value of being able to reach your customers during something as critical as a recall campaign, and many OEMs are struggling now with open recalls, and that can tie up inventory, whether it be in used car inventory or new car inventory. That at 7 or 8% floor plan could cost you tens of thousands of dollars, in addition to the safety issue that's involved with customers that may potentially be driving around with open recall vehicles. We want to reach the customers in the most efficient manner possible, and sending them out a postcard is not going to do it. And so we have a couple of 1-2 punches, right? Imagine if you can call the customer with a targeted message, offer to pick up the car at their home, bring it to the dealership while they're at work, service the vehicle, and put it back in their driveway. And in the case of a recall, at no cost to the customer. We think that's a lights out strategy. And so, Ben, while you're talking about, first service and all that stuff, that's nice and warm and fuzzy. I'm talking about a strategy that's really a game changer. And I appreciate where you're coming from. But the stuff I've got you working on, I think really has made a deep impact in Paragon Honda's ability to do a spectacular job on fixed ops.
Yeah, and then the future of all this will be through AI, having a customer journey where the customer automatically at certain points know when they could upgrade their vehicle, know when the recalls are due. They could talk back and forth with the AI or live agents backing it, where they could actually schedule appointments, talk to a voice AI, which is Brooke, and be able to make sure it makes it easy and convenient for them to get to the service drive or the sales department.
And Sarah, don't tell too much. Don't tell too much of what's coming up.
They're talking. Ben and Brian are all talking about outbound. And dealers, the nirvana has been to get the BDC to do outbound calls, and that's what I'm hearing right now. This is all outbound, Sarah.
It's incredible.
You've got to be proactive, right? You can't just sit there. I'm at Ted. I was slow to the fixed ops side. I was like a 3-legged stool. The first portion of my career, I was on the new car side, and I got pretty good at that. And then the second portion of my career, I realized there's a used car department and there's a pretty good opportunity there. So I got okay at that. And this next phase of my career was the fixed ops side. And we've been playing around, dabbling there. And I'm realizing that the things that worked in phase 1 worked in phase 2 and working in phase 3. If you call the customers with the right message, they'll respond. And nowhere have I found the customers are more neglected than on the service side. And I think that's one of the reasons we're losing 80% of our customers to the independents. So we're trying to turn that around here at our stores.
Ben, I have a question because Brian has mentioned databases twice now in the conversation, and one of the pieces that is really important, I know he pays attention to a lot of numbers and a lot of pieces to operate his business, and I'm sure he's pressing you on, what do these reports say? How are you making the difference in our dealership specifically? How are you going after these recalls? What are the stats? And that is a piece that I know there's got to be a lot of different layers. So Ben, could you share, what are the reports? What are the pieces that you enable an operator like Brian Benstock to take a look at and understand what's happening behind the scenes in their business?
Yeah, we have a set in specific for his stores. We have 7 different teams that run through his store. So it's all separated. The reason you separate things is because area of focus, if you're focused on one thing, you're going to get the results. And so we don't want everyone to do everything. So as an example, we have a sales team that handles the internet leads, that can be able to reach out to customers immediately, be able to get the customers and get them to the store. That's a separate team from our service to sales of portfolio customers, right? So the portfolio customers are, as soon as the RO opens within 15 minutes, we reach out to the customer to see if we can upgrade them to a new car. That's a different, or buy the vehicle back. It doesn't matter. It's a good opportunity for either one to buy or upgrade. That's a separate team. We have a data mining team that continuously goes after customers that buy a car 2 to 5 years ago and make sure they segregate that data, right? So high interest customers, lease return customers, warranty expiration customers, equity customers, and trade key customers, which is Brian's favorite. So these are customers that, which is Project Pluto, is trade key customers. So there's a lot of customers in most dealerships' database that truly could trade keys and be around the same payment. And so those are the customers we want to capture. And the 400,000 he just mentioned was part of that project. But then that's a separate team. Then we have a service BDC team. The service BDC team takes inbounds only. They don't do outbounds. They take all inbounds for his stores, making sure everyone's happy, everyone's great, the customer service is good, the connection rates are fine. Then we have an outbound team. The outbound team is service BDC, and it's an outbound team for sales BDC. So the outbound service team does the outbound campaigns we're talking about. So we get with each service director and Brian's vision, and we get the certain lists that we think are going to be the ones that are going to be targeting each month. And then we'll reach out to those customers with unique messaging on the service side and on the sales side. So reporting-wise, to answer your question, Sarah, is many different reporting. So we could talk about it as you wish, based on what kind of metrics we look at. But each of those teams will have much different metrics from each other, because they're not all in one. Even also, a separate team is KB, as an example, buying center, right? Leads like KBB ICO. So that's a whole different team again that handles those customers that are experts at, again, the customer to come sell their vehicles to the store.
And Brian, I'm sure there's reports that you have right at your fingertips that you're looking at. What pieces are most critical for you?
I think data is really interesting. We can all look at the same data, and it's how you interpret that data. We're looking at lists now. We're looking at the return on investment, obviously. And with the Project Pluto, I think I'm leaning into how to get the maximum lift for the dealership. The maximum lift is a single transaction that feeds every profit center in the dealership. And so that's that customer or that vehicle exchange. And a lot of dealers will roll their eyes and say, yeah, that's boring. But when you realize that one single transaction sells a new car, a used car, it feeds your parts department, your service department, your finance department multiple times, every department in the dealership, and it increases the holistic value of your dealership and the profitability of the dealership. You'll realize why that is the main driver for me and for us. You're acquiring used cars at no cost. You're selling new cars with no advertising costs. It's, to me, the holy grail. And it is my quest, my treasure that I'm hunting for in my career, that I told Ben, the one thing that I want to do, my pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, is to really master this with the right Substack and the right message to be able to give us something very simple, a 10% closing ratio on customers in our database that's in equity. And Sarah, the numbers, 10% for a store like Paragon's, north of $120 million a year in profit. If I can close 10% of the inequity customers in our database, that's a 90% failure rate, would get us $100 million. So you can see why I'm excited about having Ben help me search for that pot of gold.
All right, Ben, in closing today, if our audience wants to learn more about what you do and what you could do for them, what's the next step? How do we learn more?
I'm always available personally, but of course, bettercarpeople.com is a our website that you could go to learn more. We're always available, of course, to help many dealer groups. And again, we have so many different products now that I think it's beneficial to identify what's important within each dealership and help them with those, as long as they don't wake me up before 4 a.m. because Brian has already done that.
Eastern time. Okay. Ben, I know Sarah and I have learned a lot on this conversation. I didn't realize all the things that you do. I imagine you feel very, very positive about the industry and where we're headed. And Brian, thank you for all you do for the industry. What a great time to be in retail automotive.
It sure is.
right. Everybody, Brian Benstock from Paragon Honda and Acura. Ben from Better Car People. You can find them at bettercarpeople.com. Gentlemen, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, I want to wish you and your families next week a very happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for all that you do for the industry.
To you as well, guys.
Brian Benstock, everybody, and Ben from Better Car People here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Let's pass it over to our players from the Trade Pending panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Our friends from Trade Pending are with us. Derrick Wood is here. He's the team lead at Trade Pending. And introducing a new colleague to the roundtable, Tim Curran, a general manager, Volkswagen of Oak Lawn. Tim and Derrick, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks for having me.
Great to be here. Excited.
What a time to be in the car business, right, guys? And so much happening right now. And, here we are. We're squarely in the fourth quarter. Thanksgiving is a week away. And I want to ask you both about the state of the industry, some of the things that you're doing that are innovative and unique. And Tim, if it's okay, I want to come to you first. With things such as part shortages right now, how's that affecting your dealership? And, what are you doing in particular to respond?
Yeah, great question, Ted. I hear that a lot from my colleagues. So we're doing a couple of things. One, we're increasing our service loaner fleet. So it's an added expense. I'm sure a lot of dealers are going through that, but we just had to do it because we had people in cars for so long waiting for the parts to prevent a customer satisfaction issue. We had to do it. The second thing is it's given us a great opportunity to challenge ourselves and get back into really trying to take care of customers, really hone back in on our communication skills, our empathy skills, because folks are just they're frustrated. They're waiting and waiting and waiting. So we've had to just really get back to the fundamentals. So in one regard, it's been tough because you had to add in expense with extra service owners, but it's also been a great reminder of getting back to great customer care.
I see. And Derrick, I know you work closely with Volkswagen of Oakland. What do you see on your end on trade pending?
Yeah, I think it's no surprise really across the board for about every dealership. We're kind of used to things by now, right? The pandemic, the semiconductor shortages, geopolitical tensions, all those things, affect our daily lives when it comes to service. I think one of the main concerns, and probably Tim, you can speak to this as well, is that there is a shortage right now, of semiconductors, and that's kind of affecting everything because those things. Power electronics and function our entire vehicles, right? But a lot of dealers, like maybe Tim, is handcuffed a little bit by the manufacturer. They prioritize, the building of certain models, and ultimately that's kind of limiting the variety in the production. So a lot of dealers are just responding, from a sales standpoint of just being on top of it by pushing pre-orders and those type of things. But and there's also focus shifted towards pre-owned vehicles, forcing dealerships to source more. Importantly, just trying to gain those opportunities to get their used car inventory up to snuff. By getting that from the customer, and we're seeing a lot of high prices out there as well, because as we deal with inventory shortages, what happens? Price goes up. But a lot of dealerships, like Tim, that they're doing a fantastic job of handling. Not only from a service, standpoint, but, from a sales standpoint, you have to be very strategic.
Tim, are you seeing an increased demand in service work? And if so, what do you think is driving that?
Yeah, we have. We actually are at capacity, and oddly enough, the bulk of our work is actually older vehicles. It's not the light maintenance; it's really the heavy jobs, and I believe that's just because that the average age of the vehicles on the road are as old as they've ever been. So it's good in one regard that we have that type of work because that's great margins. But it also is tough because you're waiting for these big ticket items for such a long time. So good and bad, but that's the majority of our work is older, higher mile cars that people are trying to maintain and keep them going.
What about technicians? I'm obviously, anytime we get together, people are saying, they have a hard time finding and retaining techs. We've heard the answer to that is growing your own. What are you doing there? How are you finding and retaining good technicians?
Yeah, the growing your own that's just that's the only way to go. So we actually have a couple of our apprentices that started out as porters, from porter to lube tech, and then from lube tech into the apprentice program. For us, the apprentice program is 5 years. So that's what we found. It's just a commitment, and it's just a dedication to finding the right people to come into being an entry level, but then giving them a career path opportunity. Hey, this is today, but down the road, here's where we're going to go, and give you these opportunities. So that's been the best for us, is just being patient and growing from within.
I've had several Volkswagen retailers from California, Tim, on the show recently, and they probably do more EVs, okay, than in other parts of the country. But what are you seeing there with EVs? I know I've heard when you mentioned the service loaner. One of the things that I heard is that, if it's an EV customer, they got to have the EV as a loaner. What are you seeing with EVs right now?
Well, we're not, Volkswagen isn't a big volume for the EVs, but what I'm seeing at the tech level is it requires specialized training, specialized tools, and some of the techs are a little bit resistant to doing the additional factory training that it's required to work on those vehicles. So it's a leap of faith for them as well that this new technology is going to make its way down into the service drive and into the service department, and they're going to have the education and the tools to be able to perform the repairs. So that's a little bit of a pain point for us currently, is just getting into that training and getting the techs convinced that, hey, this is where the business is going, so we have to embrace it.
Derrick, you work with a lot of retailers around the country, trade pending. I know it's in your DNA. Okay, I'm very much aware. What are you seeing to make it more convenient for customers to start that process online? I know you've been doing that for a long time, and staying informed, once they, for example, make the service appointment, and get informed throughout the process.
Yeah, I think the key is to look at it through the lens of a customer and how they experience and what their experience looks like. When they land on your website, look at it from their point of view. Most successful dealers, give the customer a really similar experience as they would as if I was to buy a car, right? Why not do that for service related? Meaning help me to navigate easily, to like a service, that I need to get done on my car, and make it possible for me to engage with you, the dealership, on a higher level and a quicker level. Really, just staying consistent, having an approach that is consistent, so I think that's the whole idea, to make it better for the customer. And we've always got to be looking through the lens of a customer.
And Tim, you've mentioned that too, the lens of the customer. A dealer was on here recently and said, a really good dealer, and he said, we compare ourselves to the hospitality industry because we're really in the hospitality industry. And it made me think for a moment, I think he's right. Okay. There's so much in our industry that we could take from, for example, from hospitality.
No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, that's the that's the name of the game. I mean, stating the obvious, but with these, we've talked about a handful of these different challenges that are out there, but all of those challenges basically boil down to just taking care of our customer. If we communicate, we set realistic expectations, and then we just simply do what we tell them we're supposed to do. Usually, in my experience, things take care of themselves. So it's just an opportunity to get back to the basics that COVID unfortunately gave us some bad habits. So it's just a reminder, hey, it's not rocket science, guys. Let's just take care of our customers and really communicate.
There's one thing I can add here too, is I heard early on, Tim, you say empathy, right?
Yeah.
Our day to day as a service advisor, technician, maybe we can get wrapped up, in our work, and we don't pay too much attention to what the customer is actually experiencing. Right.
Yeah.
I come into the service drive, maybe I got a chip on my shoulder. Maybe I don't, maybe my experiences in the past has not been good, so being able to recognize the actual experience the customers have when they come into that service drive, greet them with a smile, right.
Yep.
And just have empathy, for their situation. Right.
Tim, are you seeing more of a focus, with your peers and within the store on fixed operations than there was, let's say, 5-10 years ago?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, I was talking to Derrick recently, and that's really been a big focus for us this year, is revamping the service team and refocusing those efforts to maximize our absorption. So yeah, fixed absorption has been a big buzzword. Everybody's talking about it, and I hate to keep saying it, but COVID kind of gave us this opportunity to get a little bit fat and lazy, and we took our eye off of some of these metrics that we should have always been watching and keeping track of closely. So it's just, it's another opportunity to get back into really diving into your business and looking at the metrics that move the needle and refocusing that energy. So that's what we've really made it a point this year, to focus on that, to get back into having as much as the back end cover the expenses of the whole store as possible.
Derrick, recently, on the last Fixed Ops Roundtable a few months back, TradePending talked to us a little bit about what they're doing in video for the service department, having the tech do a video that updates the customer for needed services. Okay, I don't want to say upsell, okay, but services that are needed, and to get that RO approved more quickly. Derrick, are you seeing more of that around the country with TradePending?
let me tell you, as a whole, our dealerships are experiencing about a 55% increase in dollar per RO by simply using video. It's a very powerful, way to present, to someone, the repairs that they need to, pay attention to or maybe recommend, right? I think technicians are loving it as well, because technicians, as we all know, are all about the hours. They're increasing their hour count, across the board as well, which is, what they're looking for. So having video in place and being able to, as a customer, if I'm on my phone or my email or check my email or whatever, when I see this link come across of, the things that, on my car that I was not aware of, but I can actually see a visual testimony of, things that I really need to probably do. It's gonna allow me to do that, seeing is believing, so video is super powerful. A lot of dealerships that have that in place, again, are seeing a huge increase in dollar per RO.
Tim, your thoughts? Obviously, video is ingrained in our lives everywhere we look, but how about tools like texting, updating the customer, getting the approval quicker? It's a whole different ballgame than it was years ago in our business.
It very much so is. It's efficiency. Derrick and I, going back to that same conversation, we were talking about tech proficiency, shop efficiency, and all of this is kind of like the big picture stuff, but these little things of being able to communicate quick, get the approval, and then get it into the shop and give that technician the ability to turn the hours, it all goes hand in hand. So anything that we can do as operators to increase that efficiency, we have to be all about it.
I love it. Yeah. And in the old days, we used to have to wait for the approval, take the car off the lift, park it back out in the lot, wait an hour and a half, 2 hours for the approval. Another car's on the lift, has to get that one done, have the tech bring it back in. Not efficient.
Yeah. And all of those things you're describing, I mean, that's real world stuff that's happening across the country at all dealerships. But you just have to think of what you described. There's so much inefficiency and wasted time. And that's just going back to like why we're talking and why we're here is how to make better use of our time. That was one of the things we looked at this year, was how many hours we have available. And then we have to maximize those hours. So these little things that we're talking about help make that easier to accomplish.
I could tell you one more thing too, in using video, the response rate is huge, like 12-minute average. Tim, if you can imagine not tying up a bay for hour upon hour, right? Waiting for the customer to get back with you to okay it, right? Giving these people the opportunity to do that, online or through that link that you would send to them is pretty powerful, and getting that quick response.
Tim, has TradePending been, are they a part of your strategy on fixed operations?
Yeah, so we did a lot of rebuilding, retooling, and now we're in I would say kind of the home stretch phase of the revamp. So yeah, we're in the middle of the rollout with them for all of these programs, all of these applications that Derrick has been talking about. So yeah, so far it's been phenomenal. The team has been very receptive because they get it. It's about just making the communication faster, and that's kind of the focus, is just hours. How do we maximize our efficiency? So we're really looking forward to the growth that we're going to have with adding that video tool.
Last question for both of you gentlemen today. I'll come to Tim first and then Derrick to bring it home. How are you working with customers on things like recalls? Okay. I mean, that's part of our business, right? But I think there's more focus on that than I've seen ever in the past, so that the customer knows they got a recall, and then managing that process at the dealership level. Tim, if you would first, and then Derrick.
Well, just the basics is communication. So a lot of in our world, we don't have the necessary parts, unfortunately. So it's the communication and then trying to set a realistic expectation. Nobody, what we used to say is it's on back order, and it's, or some variation of that. And that's like, nails on the chalkboard to the customer. We got to remove that from our verbiage, right? So communication, just be honest. If we really don't know, that's fine. But then we have to follow up when we get the parts in and then complete the repair. It sounds simple. That's the only thing I found that actually works for us.
Love it. Yeah. Derrick, if our audience wants to learn more, I know so many of the Fixed Ops Roundtable retailers are working with TradePending. Congratulations to you on that. Derrick, if our audience wants to learn more, how do they take the next step? What do you recommend?
I recommend they just visit our site, TradePending.com. We have our host of products that live there. We have everything you possibly think of, testimonials. The whole thing is there. So from variable to fixed. We again are servicing close to, I think, to now 6,000 dealerships. Nationwide, as well as in Canada. So by doing that and having that amount, dealers is impressive. But the most impressive part is that retaining, all of them has been fantastic for us, because once you institute, all these different things that we have available for dealers to increase their conversions and, to help them sell more, to help them service more, it's just paramount.
Well, Tim and Derrick, on behalf of the Fixed Ops community, I want to wish you and your families a very happy Thanksgiving next week, and thank you for all you do for automotive retail. It's very much appreciated.
Awesome. Thank you, Ted.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Tim, great meeting you and having you on the roundtable. I hope the first of many times we'll have you back, and
Yes.
love the information. Tim Curran, everybody, General Manager, Volkswagen of Oak Lawn in the Chicago area. Derrick Wood, Team Lead at TradePending. You can learn more at TradePending.com. Great friends of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Derrick and Tim, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Service Offers, powered by TradePending, turns your website into a service marketing machine by simplifying the process of managing your dealership's service specials across all channels and your website. Dealers love this valuable resource for service customers because it adapts the service offers to your local weather automatically, bringing relevancy and sizzle to your service marketing. Customers can utilize our third-party financial partnership for an easy payment schedule, reducing declined and deferred services. It increases service business with a vehicle recall lookup while capturing the customer information and notifying your team. It interactively educates your customers about services while converting them into appointments with embedded call to action buttons. We focus on the schedule, click to call, save offer, and recall lookup CTAs to really drive your service appointments. With Service Offers, powered by TradePending, you'll be setting more appointments with happier, longer lasting customers.
We want to make it so that every automotive dealer can use AI natively and effectively to enhance the abilities of your employees to do their job. When we look at the ROI, one of the things that we know is that if you can communicate to a customer on a missed phone call in 15 minutes or less, that drives up profitability and customer satisfaction. So not only does our AI engage that customer on a missed phone call, it also creates a workflow for the employees to get back to the customers with predictive intelligence about what they need to provide to the customer to handle the situation as it arises.
This speaker is ready to go. Please welcome Cobi Collins from Go Trego.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We are at Northwood University. I'm Vanessa Collins, joined by Katrina Ness and Cobi Collins from Go Trego. Now, this segment is going to be a little bit different because Katrina and I are going to be the ones getting interviewed.
So before we hop into the questions, Cobi, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and Go Trego?
You bet. So Go Trego is an assessment organization. We are an employee assessment company that has been in the auto industry for over 40 years. I haven't been there for 40 years, but it is an opportunity for companies to identify potential. And so for you all, we call you early talent. And organizations are beginning to recognize that early talent is better at strategic thinking, not just the bottom line numbers, but you come out of a university like Northwood, and we need organizations to recognize the potential that you have to grow their company. And so we help companies field their A-team, because as you all know, he who fields the best team wins.
Yes.
And so we want them to field their A-team so that they can achieve the goal that the company was set out to achieve. Right. And so we use a little bit of science and apply it to what they're doing in their hiring and development process, and then help them strategically succession plan as well.
Wonderful.
That's amazing.
All right, so I want to ask you too, as early talent, because we have this incredible audience in front of us who is looking to build their teams, not just at the dealership level, right? But corporate, with CDK, with some of these other organizations. So what is it when you, and I'll start with you, Vanessa, what is it that you're hoping a company has as far as its culture goes? When you think of culture of an organization, who do you want to work for?
I would say definitely a vibrant culture, you know, somewhere that is energetic and kind of upbeat. Definitely a company that has, you know, the mission, visions, and values that kind of align with my own ethical framework too.
Okay.
And also, you know, a motivational kind of atmosphere, you know, where there is room for growth and, you know, it's very inspiring every time, you know, I walk into work or communicate, you know, with my colleagues.
Right. How can a company communicate that to you, their culture?
I would say definitely up front. I think, you know, with my one internship experience, I could tell that their culture, you know, aligned with everything that I ever wanted from that first screening call.
Okay.
So I think that initial, you know, reaction and that initial, you know, communication, even with just the screening call, is very important.
Great. Katrina, how about for you?
I'd say for culture, definitely an environment that fosters creativity. I think new ideas and bringing new things to the table is so important. And I think with a lot of young perspectives, that's something that can be thought of as well. I also think an opportunity for growth and to excel within the company is important, especially if you want your longevity of the employee and longer and less employee turnover, I guess you could say. And then also something that Vanessa said is just vibrance, you know, a fun place to be at when work doesn't feel like work, and just a wonderful place to be in a culture that aligns with your own.
Okay, so that's good. You both said energy, vibrance, creativity. So a company that's on the cutting edge of what's coming next, right? Growth. So when you think about your own growth, and your potential, I love that you said that because that's actually my next question, is how can you prove to a company in an interview when you're coming out of college and you don't have decades of experience, and we know a lot of organizations will say that it's an entry-level job, but you need to have 10 years of experience. I don't know how that's real, that you have to have 10 years of experience. So how are you able to express your, and I'm gonna start back over here with you, Katrina, how are you able to express your growth potential you've got other people who are applying for the job. How do you prove to the company that you have growth potential when you don't have years of experience?
I think just showing your willingness to learn and grow inside of the role, and also sharing experiences from your background where you've had these opportunities maybe to excel in a position, and learn and face challenges. So I think that that's important as an interviewee when, you know, consulting a company and asking them about themselves and while they're asking you about yourself. So definitely just showing your willingness to learn and grow. And, you know, everyone starts at the same place. Everyone, you know, there's rock bottom for everyone and everyone can go up from there. So
sure. Vanessa, how do you think you can actually prove your potential?
I think that Northwood is different. I think that, you know, we gained a lot of experience in Northwood. And it's kind of like untraditional to what other students gain at other universities. You know, me and Katrina, we have been a part of numerous registered student organizations here on campus. One of them being this auto show where we both serve on the executive board and we have that hands-on experience. We're not just learning in the classroom from the books. We do have that hands-on experience. Now we don't have 10 years, you know, in our career, but I think that finding a company that has that trust in you and that willingness to, you know, kind of trust us new, you know, people in the career force to grow within our roles as well. I do agree, you know, that willingness to learn, Katrina, is super important.
Right? So I'm going to share some information with you guys that you may not know. So often hiring managers who have been doing this for a very long time believe that their gut feel will not fail them. But we have done loads of research, and not just us, but our entire industry, and 87% of the time our gut feel is wrong. And so many people get placed in the wrong jobs. And so that's where we come in, is to help you all actually prove to an organization that you can and will do a job long term.
Wow.
It's just science. We take a look at who you are. We take a look at their culture. So we know that there's going to be culture fit. Because how many of you managers out there watching have hired somebody that you thought would be great and they are, And they've hired somebody you thought would be great and they failed. None of us want to hire people who are going to fail. And the two of you do not want to be placed in a job where you fail, right? None of us are like, boy, I hope I really just kill it and fail today. That's not right. That's not what we set out to do. And so we want to make sure that organizations can actually definitively understand your potential. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about future potential. When you go into an interview, how important is it to you that you actually see a career pathway in the very organization you're considering working for? I'll start with you, Vanessa. Sorry.
So I think it's very important. One of the cultures I listed was, a motivational environment where you can kind of, grow within that organization. So knowing that up front and knowing that, you do kind of have a path forward within that organization is very important. And for me personally, I think that once I am in my career, if I can find a company that aligns with the culture that I'm seeking, I would want to grow within that organization rather than have to go to another.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah, because you have to learn a whole different set of cultures. And when you work for a different leader, your potential changes.
Absolutely.
Right?
I agree with what Vanessa said, and kind of to back off of that, also just like being on the same page as things. And it benefits both parties when you're on the same page and your values are aligning and you both want to be there long term as a company and as an employee. So, having the employee that enjoys the culture and knows what it is up front and sees that longevity of their career path within that company, as well as a company that can foster that from that employee, I think is important. But that's kind of just going off of what Vanessa said.
So I really value that, and I appreciate that you all are sharing your honesty there, that it is important that you see a career path forward. And, the average employee today only stays at an organization 4.2 years. 4 years, but the two of you are talking about long-term, actually developing a career.
Absolutely.
And so what we like to do is partner with organizations to understand the career paths available within the company, and then know the day that you're finishing your final interview with that organization, they could lay out your career trajectory with them and let you know exactly where you fit along that path. It doesn't have to be a straight vertical up.
Wow.
Sometimes a career path it's horizontal, sometimes it zigzags. And so they could know immediately the day you start how to train you and where to start mentoring you from your starting position through the rest of your career and lay that out so that together you partner and spend the time where it matters to overcome your challenges, to double down on your strengths, and to put you in the future positions where you are best suited to excel. And when you excel and succeed, the company does as well, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And so what do you think that would create in the culture as well when people are where they're supposed to be? You've got the right people in the right seats doing their best work.
Yeah.
What does that feel like for you all when you come to work every day?
I think it feels good. I mean, when you're in the right place with the right organization, that's when you know.
Yeah.
I think it'll feel, back to those cultures, I think it'll feel, inspiring when everybody feels like they're right where, they're meant to be. They're going to want to come into work every day. They're going to have a, better mood. They are going to communicate better, cross-functionally with their colleagues. So I think it'll overall foster that culture that us, young college students are looking for when we're entering the workforce.
Right.
Definitely. Well, this panel was so amazing. And again, we're here at Northwood University with Cobi Collins. And if you want more information about this panel and kind of what we discussed, make sure you go to gotrego.com and stay tuned for a lot more amazing panels coming up.
Do you want to provide your customers with an exceptional car buying journey rather than just a transaction? As Carl Sewell advocates in his book, Customers for Life, the key to ensuring customer loyalty lies in delivering an enjoyable and memorable experience. And that starts with assembling the right team. But how do you guarantee that you're hiring the best talent for the job? According to Sewell, one of the most effective methods is using a pre-employment assessment called the Trego Personnel Survey, which consistently identifies top talent and transforms company culture. While many dealerships recognize the importance of recruiting top talent, the challenge lies in identifying such talent during the hiring process. Enter Go Trego. With over 40 years of research and expertise in the auto industry, Dr. Trego and his team have been instrumental in helping clients like Sewell and many others figure out if the applicant can and will do the job. We adopt a scientific approach to evaluating candidates' behaviors and accurately predicting their job performance. Say goodbye to the frustrations of dealing with subpar hires. With Trego, you can transform your staff into the happiest, friendliest, and most reliable team your customers have ever encountered, ensuring customers for life. Let Trego guide you in selecting the perfect talent for your organization.
BG Experience provides a window into today's vehicle systems, including the engine, brake, driveline, and cooling system. You will learn about how each system functions, the challenges they face, and BG Products' preventative maintenance solutions to these challenges. BG Experience is used by automotive trade schools and service centers to educate students, technicians, and service advisors. The ability to see how individual components of complex vehicle systems interact in motion provides a more visceral understanding than older training methods. We partner with over 50,000 shops and service centers around the globe. BG Experience is an essential tool to engage and educate automotive professionals worldwide.
Get the play-by-play on dealer pay with our next speaker, Julie Douglas.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine, and on today's segment, I'm so excited to have Julie Douglas, President, Sales Lady Extraordinaire of Dealer Pay. Julie, welcome to the Roundtable.
Thanks, Sarah. So good to be back. How are you?
I'm great, Julie, and I'm so excited about our topic today because we are really going to be diving in to elements that typically we haven't been discussing on the roundtable, but I'm so excited because we're talking today about the customer's perspective when it comes to payments and payment processing. And it's a really great conversation because the dealer's perspective, while that's important, there's a lot going on in the industry today from the customer side.
Absolutely. I think a lot has changed over the last few years. We've talked a lot about convenience, but a lot of times, their perspective may not always align with what the dealer thinks is the best role or the best process. So this is exciting because we can maybe even dive into, the concept of how the dealer takes payments, whether it's inside or outside the dealership, and then that concept of that cashier's office.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned the cashier's office because even in my retail career, I've been on both sides of the fence where we've had a designated cashier and we've had the terminals pieces. But I will say the terminals and having individual payment processing was an evolution because of what the customer was saying with their experience. So talk to us a little bit about, what are some of the pieces that you're seeing in a cashier versus individual, payment processing situation?
Sure. So, whether it's a small dealership or a large group, I still see a good combination of both where, when we're talking to a dealership about their individual customization of their payments experience, we ask, do your service advisors take payments? Do your parts managers take payments? Is there anything that's sort of on the go, like mobile? And there's still a very good, heavy population of dealers who still have that cashier's office. Good, bad, or indifferent. Are there advantages? Yes. But could there be disadvantages? I also believe yes. And the reason I think, this evolution of offering payment acceptance through the individual that's working with the customer, they're going to have just that one person and that one conversation about, their RO, their individual parts order without having to travel around the dealership to just make that payment.
Well, and we've been seeing a increase in our industry talking about hospitality. In fact, Ted and I were at Northwood University in October for the CAMS Industry Summit and then our pop-up event for the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And the conversations were really heavily centered around hospitality and how the customer perceives the experience when they're doing business. So, talk to us a little bit, what has been some of the pieces when a dealership is asking you how to elevate the customer experience? What are the pain points that they're talking about alleviating?
So pain points would be, how am I going to make it more convenient for my customers? How can I make it easier for them to do business with us? And I always harp on, the last experience they have in the dealership or outside the dealership is the payment, right? So when you go back to that concept of, the cashier versus the service advisor, for example, if I have questions about my repair order, once I get to that cashier's office, she might or he might send me back to my advisor to get an answer. But guess what? Once I get my answer, I have to go back in line in the cashier's office. So, I'm thinking of myself in my younger years. If I've got a kid in daycare, I'm probably running late and maybe I'm getting a little fussy at this point. And, hopefully that doesn't end up with my CSI score at the end of the day. But that's just an example. Do I think a cashier's office is also potentially a good option? Yes, because I also hear a lot of dealers who tell us that, they don't necessarily maybe trust the advisors or parts managers to handle accounting or financial pieces such as payment acceptance. So it is a checks and balances either way. What are your thoughts though, Sarah? I mean, you talked about the hospitality. In your experience, would you rather deal with the advisor or parts manager direct through the whole process or finish up in a cashier's office?
Well, I will tell you, from my both retail experience and customer experience, one of the pieces in monitoring hundreds and thousands of CSI surveys that would come in every single month and then be fielding those phone calls, customers would get really upset about some of the situations that would happen just because of the way the dealership process flowed when it came to taking those payments. And
Right.
So, for an example, one of the pain points in an organization I was last at, we had the finance managers would have to go back to the cashier that also was the service cashier to process larger credit card transactions. They couldn't run a credit card transaction terminal in their office. And what customers saw sometimes was that finance manager cutting in front of them in line and then processing that, the person that also has been waiting a long time in finance to get the car deal done. But that customer's perception is immediately tarnished because they're like, well, wait a minute, who is this guy that just cut in front of me and 5 other people? How is that fair? And then they're, like you said, I've been that customer myself. I've got 3 kids in different places. And I might get there giving myself, okay, if I needed to get there, I'm going to give myself half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. But if it's my first time at the dealership, everybody is thinking, well, I could pay on my phone or I could pay in all these different ways. And that's another interesting point that I would love to pick your brain about. How are you seeing the different ways that customers want to pay impacting some of the pieces that dealerships are deciding on today?
Well, I think it's huge. And I think it's even coming down from some of the OEM channels too, where, coming into the dealership and paying at a cashier with a terminal, although that's great, it may not be convenient. So there's areas where the dealerships really need to be a little more savvy, or what I would call use modern systems for payment acceptance. So, sending out payment links by text or email. Believe it or not, that is way more preferred than even getting the customer on the phone, because a lot of times, and as we get into these holidays coming up, we may not know who's on the other end of that phone, right? So, having certain securities in place with these modern technologies is key. So, if I was able to, in that scenario, running late and they sent me a payment link to take care of the payment and I could just grab my car, chances are, Sarah, I'm going to be a lot happier camper at the end of the day because I took care of business really fast. It was easy. It was convenient. And I felt good about the transaction and my experience at the dealership.
Well, and it's also a great point to bring up. You talked about the cashier and reconciling the balance at the end of the day. And I know, there's some controllers out there that are sometimes concerned because, okay, wait a minute. If I've got the rental department, I've got the service department, I've got parts, where are all these different pieces coming together? So how do you recommend a dealer look at that whole landscape when it comes to multiple departments and multiple ways to pay?
So it's interesting you asked that because I was on a demo with a dealership just yesterday, and there's certain traditions or practices that are tried and true, from the office's perspective. A lot of times there's concerns of letting certain controls go because there could be, things that differ, like the checks and balances at the end of the day. Perhaps there's a cashier that is really great at his or her job and the office can rely on that person. But there are technologies out there whereas the user can process these transactions after completing the repair order and work with the customer. And it's not rocket science. It's a very simple, easy, and secure transaction. So I think that's where the difference is, maybe having the dealership break some old traditions about how things have always been done and look at some new efficiencies out there with technology. I know sometimes that word isn't always perceived well in the office, but there are some technologies that will, even at the end of the day, make their reconciliation process faster and smoother and more accurate, quite frankly. So I think, if there was, sort of bridging that gap between, loosening the controls, but also giving a little more, responsibility to these managers, I think overall the customer experience will be better.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the customer experience piece again, because I know in my past organizations, the decision to go to that individual payment processing at, the service advisor's desk or in the finance office, wherever the transaction occurred, or even, on the customer's cell phone where they're not even in the dealership, they're controlling it right from their text messages or their email. But, the customer service piece was the element that ultimately the dealer had to look at and say, you know what, I have received so many Google reviews or so many surveys, and I have to figure out a way to stop the bleeding. So could you tell us a little bit, what are dealerships saying to you when they're looking into it? And then also, after they've implemented it, are they seeing improvements in that time efficiency or customers, are they more happy when they have these options?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, kind of certain traditions, there were a lot of manual processes in place. You did this and then you waited, and then you did that and then you waited, right? There's technologies out there that really make that go full circle without any manual operation required. So when you implement a system like this in your dealership, you're not only going to make the whole process more efficient, your service departments and your parts departments are going to be more productive, and all at the same time, you're going to have happier customers. Another example to that is, if I do business as a customer with your dealership on a regular basis, wouldn't it make sense for you to maybe store my payment information securely? Or have some kind of mobile solution where when you showed up to deliver my part or do my repair, you already had me in your system ready to go. I mean, I just think that also gives me as your customer a little bit more, that personal touch, like they were ready, knowing how I wanted to pay.
Well, and the other piece too that I think has been really interesting in what we're hearing in conversations around the industry, beyond the transaction in the service department or in the finance department, we're also hearing more and more about dealerships investing in e-commerce strategies at their dealerships. So whether it's parts sales or, even selling the car completely, online before the customer ever comes to the dealership, are you seeing innovative ways where dealerships are also applying some of these payment processing pieces in an e-commerce strategy?
Absolutely. And that's when, whether it be online parts or even putting payment acceptance on your website, that's key because you still have to link those transactions. I mean, you can offer 16 different ways for a customer to pay, but if it doesn't link back to the DMS for accounting, it's going to be a worse problem than it was a convenient issue or a convenient method. So yes, I completely agree. Integrations are huge. So, you have to kind of look back at your payments provider and see what technologies they offer. DealerPay, my company that I represent, has a lot of these, but there are some of our competitors that have done a really good job in this space. Certain service lane technologies, digital retailing from the CRM perspective. So, the one thing that's key though, is if you have too many methods of payment and they don't all report back, again, I'm back in that accounting office with more work than I would have created the opposite way. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I know, some controllers out there are going to be really excited to be hearing this today because that, and that actually is a great question too. A lot of the hesitancy sometimes around implementing these strategies, it is the controller at the end of the day that is going to have to say, well, what systems work with this and how does that flow? And then you and I were talking in the green room. This is a decision that, often transcends multiple departments. So you service directors, general managers, sales managers, F&I managers. So how does, the installation, like what are all the pieces that you really help dealers look at when they're going into a process like this?
Sure. So, it traditionally was when I presented my solutions were to an office manager controller because it's a financial. But that was when it was just straight up a commodity, right? Everybody had a terminal on a desk in a cashier's office and they took their payments and they had the system down. But nowadays it's like, I present to fixed ops managers, parts managers, finance managers, general managers, like you said. So we've got to get the people who are using the tools in a position to be able to vet out their provider. Is this helping me be more productive? Is this helping me reduce fraud? Is this helping me, provide a better experience for my customer? But at the same time, is this helping my office reconcile? So you're right. I mean, payment processing, and I've been in this business for far too long, almost 25 years, but it is evolving. And you do need to work with a provider that not only has the technologies, they have the integrations, and they have ways to incorporate accounting in all the processes. Because there are a lot of moving parts, as no pun intended, but yes, there's a lot of moving parts.
Well, we're here with Julie Douglas, president and sales lady extraordinaire of DealerPay. Julie, just another final question. A lot of dealerships are thinking into the future of 2025. We're seeing fixed operations and parts e-commerce and online transactions. It's taking center stage in a lot of dealership operations and thinking about, mobile service, all of these elements together. In your, final thoughts, what should dealerships be paying attention to this upcoming year in 2025?
I think just going back to the original topic is the customer experience. If you're offering them multiple ways to pay and you're providing them with the same conveniences that they would expect in a hotel or a restaurant, like you mentioned, then, that's what they're going to remember. And that's what they're going to come back for, is that same experience. Just like anything else, dealers are competitive. They want to have that leg up on the guy next door. Believe it or not, adding some technologies behind your payment acceptance is for sure a way to do it.
We're here with Julie Douglas. And Julie, one of the things that I find also incredible about working with DealerPay is the customer and the dealership has the ability to reach out to you directly to get this conversation started. So how does one, if they're listening today, get started in looking at dealer pay?
You can absolutely call me direct. I am the president and CEO of the company, but I also am always a salesperson. That's sort of how I started. So reach out to Julie at dealerpay.com or my cell phone below, which is 314-578-3142.
Julie, it is always a pleasure to talk with you on the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and I'm so excited to continue this conversation. I know this topic is one that resonates really, really strongly with our industry today, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your day.
Well, and everybody, Julie Douglas, President, Sales Lady Extraordinaire of Dealer Pay. You can find out more information about Dealer Pay at dealer-pay.com or contact Julie directly. Her information is in the ticker below. Stay tuned, everyone. We have some exciting segments coming up next at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hello, my name is Julie Douglas, President of Dealer Pay. For more than 20 years, we've been working exclusively with dealers to process electronic transactions. We've developed a dealer-specific payments and point-of-sale solution designed to help dealers be more profitable, productive, and successful. The reason our solutions have been proven effective is that we understand the dynamics of accepting payments in each department and can offer customized solutions that guarantees to exceed your expectations. Our point-of-sale solutions provide customers with multiple ways to pay. With a strong emphasis on both security and modern technology, we cover all aspects of the purchase and the last experience your customer has in the dealership. It's important to us that your customers are satisfied and your dealership is properly funded for every sales transaction. We are advocates for dealers and recommended in the industry. Let us help you get set up with a seamless transition. Contact me directly. Julie Douglas, Dealer Pay. Fast, organized, secure.
Get on your feet for our next segment, filmed live at Reynolds & Reynolds, featuring Shawn Concannon of TSD Mobility.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Katrina Ness here with Ted Ings, and we are at the Reynolds & Reynolds headquarters in Dayton, Ohio.
Great honor to have with us today Shawn Concannon, who is the president of TSD Mobility, recently acquired by Reynolds & Reynolds. Shawn, welcome and congratulations to you.
Thank you very much, Ted. Appreciate it and glad to be here with you.
We've had you on the roundtable before in the past. Kind of bring us up to speed. I guess maybe the first question for our audience is, tell us more about what TSD Mobility does.
Sure. We're a 40-plus-year-old software company that builds software for dealerships, OEMs, and car rental companies today to manage their fleets of cars, provide reservation services, but we like to think that we can, manage anything that's got a VIN and needs managing around fleet management. We do an excellent job of that, and we do a lot of other exciting things today.
Wonderful. So almost every dealership has a loaner fleet of vehicles to provide to customers when their car's in the shop for a long time. So when should dealers start to consider using a software to help them manage their fleet? Or is there a certain volume or a certain number of loaners that tip the scale for that to be a considered thought?
Yeah, great question, Katrina. Probably 10 years ago, we always recommended somebody, with 10, 15, 20 cars to start looking at software. Today, it's with the amount of liability and litigiousness that's out there today, we recommend even with 1 or 2 cars, and the price points that we put out there today make it very advantageous for someone to get on board and get automated with a software application to manage these fleet of cars. Even with 1 or 2 cars, we find that it's very beneficial for dealers to at least have an automated process today, a process that kind of takes handwriting out of the mix, but more importantly is covering the liability of the dealership by putting them on a restringent or strict rental agreement or vehicle use agreement.
Right, and I can imagine that the software also helps keep track of the customer and inside the database as well. So that's probably when they're benefiting.
Very important to know where your customers are. More importantly, where your assets or your cars are.
Yeah.
Know when they're coming back. Those are very important things. And in service today, transportation on the service drive is almost a must today. So the fleets have never been bigger out there.
Right.
Let's go back to that, because the customer expectation is in many cases that they're going to have transportation, whether the vehicle comes in for a longer service or even it's just there for the day or even overnight. My expectation as a consumer, and of course it's not always depending on the brand, is that there's going to be a loaner or a vehicle available to me. Talk to me about the customer expectations and having platforms such as TSD.
Yeah, it's changed drastically. So it used to be just a luxury brand type of luxury service, as you know. But it's really now every brand offers transportation, whether it be a loan car, Uber, Lyft. The days of waiting for your car to get, be serviced are pretty much long gone. So the consumer wants transportation, wants to get back to their home, wants to get back to their work. But this is adversely very advantageous for the dealer. They're selling those customers more service work because there's not a pressure to get my car done quicker. And it's obviously, as you just stated, it's a much higher CSI when somebody's in an actual loan car versus they're waiting for their car to be serviced.
A big growing area that we've seen at the Fixed Ops Roundtable is dealers getting involved in remote services, in particular mobile service, okay? And having fleets, which dealers are now growing to, from initially just a couple or a handful of vehicles to dozens of vehicles. And they're performing the service now for customers, in their driveway. Speak to us about that and how that affects some of this thinking.
Yeah, we're starting to see a lot of services done outside the dealership. We're heavily into pickup and delivery now. It would be something good. Mm-hmm. We're starting to do mobile services with some OEMs out there that want us to manage the actual mobile service vehicles. So any of those things that are, have a VIN attached to it, have a driver, whether it's a customer, driver, an employee in it, we do a very good job of kind of managing and tracking that asset and that individual.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm curious, do you have any future or immediate plans to start leveraging the rental system to enhance, your systems, or vice versa as well?
Yeah, it's truly why, for me, rentals was a very important company to be in the mix when we're looking to be sold, and they were the right company for us. Right. They have so much immense firepower in the space. They've got a great reputation. And obviously, there's a ton of integration points that we see that are going to be very beneficial to TSD customers and rentals customers. Right. Our natural course is to immediately hook into the DMS and be able to share back and forth data, appointments, and stuff like that. But we got some other really, really cool stuff that we're working on with them and they're working on with us that's going to really help dealers and help their customers is really the key of getting these points put together.
I mean, it makes sense for a smooth and seamless process through, the customer's whole time in a dealership.
Absolutely. I know for me, I travel a lot nowadays, and for me, great customer service is someone I can do business with that saves me amount of time. Yeah. It's not sitting down and having a good conversation anymore. It's really get me in and out, get me going really, really fast, and you're getting high marks from me all the way through. So yeah, being able to integrate and process a customer quicker is the expectation nowadays.
Yeah. Let's come back to that because you just keyed in on it. It's the customer's time now that is undoubtedly the most valuable thing out there, okay? Even more than the cost of the maintenance or the repair. It's that time and that time spent and the respect for the time as well. Any examples of maybe how you may be considering leveraging some of the Reynolds products and services that Katrina and I have had a chance to see a lot of the past couple of days here?
Yeah, we love some of their stuff they've done around kiosks and key dispensers. We love some of their stuff they do around mobile technology and stuff like that, which is near and dear to us as well. I think TSD, where we're really shifting, is we've really been a B2B, customer for many, many years. Yes. As I just alluded to with the customer, if you give the customer the ability to input the data on their phone or at home on their home PC, they'll do a lot of the work for you today. So I think a lot of the stuff that we're building today is not necessarily for the dealer to use and consume, but their customers to use and consume. So being able to text them links beforehand, remind them of appointments, let them pick different cars and stuff like that, are all future stuff you're going to really see, come into the industry.
And then, like a lot of companies, you chose at some point in the past to align yourself with OEMs as well, and to have these great relationships, which then trickle down to the dealers, and perhaps use some of that OEM leverage. Speak to us how important that is for a product like this.
For us, the OEMs, the auto groups, the individual dealers they're all the same. They're customer of ours, and for us, we a long time ago decided to align ourselves and make sure that we could also support the OEM in this endeavor, give them visibility to the fleet, give them visibility to the dealers, customers, and stuff like that. Ultimately, they're the ones that kind of fund some of these programs for these cars to be used by consumers. So naturally, they were flying in the dark for many, many years. We give them now that ability to kind of see and be able to see to make sure Ted's getting a loaner car and stuff like that when he shows up at his dealer.
It's an exciting time in the industry, and it's got to be exciting for you, Shawn.
Yeah, we're really, really excited about how the Reynolds, being a part of the Reynolds family and where we're going to take this. We got some exciting stuff coming.
Well, I was excited when I saw the messaging earlier this year, and again, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
TSD.
Thank you very much.
And all the success that I'm sure you're going to enjoy with Reynolds and the retailers.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody, we are at Reynolds and Reynolds World Headquarters. We're in Dayton, Ohio. We're with Shawn Concannon from TSD Mobility. We will be right back.
So prior to RayPay, we had a web-based credit card service where the advisors would have to manually type in the RO number and the dollar amount of the ticket, and it would never fail that an advisor had transposed some numbers. We were just writing stuff off to make the figures match. I mean, it wasn't $100 every day, but over the course of a year adds up. I would say probably about $1,000. So prior to using RayPay with our open ROs, we were having about 150 ROs open that shouldn't have been opened. So it's confusing to the appointment scheduler as well as the dispatcher when he's trying to hand out work. And so with RayPay automatically closing those ROs, there's no room for error because it's auto-populated as to what the total is. Once the client checks out, we're not relying on the advisor to remember to close the RO. You're able to close an extra 100 ROs per month.
Take a moment now to pull out your phones to scan the QR code on your screen to vote for the Shawn Butler Best Practice Awards that will be announced at the end of the event. Remember, every vote counts, so make sure to draft your top 5 speakers or panelists for your fantasy Fixed Ops team by casting your vote. And don't forget, you can only vote once.
In automotive, we know that innovation drives us forward. The Fixed Ops Roundtable Certified Program is designed to help preferred dealers and partners with powerful tools, resources, and marketing to achieve even greater success. Ted Ings and I invite you to learn more today at fixedopsroundtablecertified.com.